Chapter 606. The pile of bones was a few meters long and had 2 horns on its head. Its sharp teeth were slightly black, and it was piled up in a corner. From its appearance, it didn't seem like it belonged to a human. If Yun Luofeng's guess was right, the dragon-like creature was the life-bound beast of the soul seed. A soul dragon. Little Mo's voice came from within Yun Luofeng's soul, his voice trembling. That corpse belongs to the soul dragon. It seems to have been slaughtered. The soul dragon was extremely powerful, so how strong must the person who killed it be? Also, why didn't they take the soul seed after killing the soul dragon? I don't quite understand. Yun Luofeng shook his head. No matter what, I finally got the soul seed. Little Mo, do you have any way to get me out of here? This place doesn't seem to allow people to fly. I'm not sure why, Little Mo said helplessly. I've been away from this continent for too long. There are many things I don't know. Yun Luofeng fell silent and didn't say anything else. At that moment, milk tea suddenly rushed out of his sleeve and rushed towards the pile of bones. Squeak, squeak. Its eyes were like a hungry wolf that had found a delicious meal. It pounced in front of the bones. Milk tea, come back. Yun Luofeng hurriedly called out. Milk tea, who was previously very obedient, did not listen to her orders at this moment. Her small body quickly burrowed into the pile of bones. In a short while, she found a black bead among the bones. Gulp! Milk tea was afraid that someone would steal its master, so it directly swallowed it and let out a satisfied burp. Squeak, squeak. But not long after, it suddenly rolled around on the ground in pain. Its cry was mournful. Yun Luofeng hurried to milk tea's side and lifted its small body up. Little Mo, what's going on? There was only silence in Yun Luofeng's soul. Yun Luofeng furrowed his brows. Just as he was about to ask again, Little Mo's childish voice sounded. I finally know why the soul dragon died. Those people weren't after the soul seed, but the pearl. They must have dug out the heart and lungs of the soul dragon, but they still couldn't find the bead, because those people never thought that this bead would be hidden in the soul dragon's bones. It benefited us. No, it should be milk tea, that stupid mouse. What is the use of this bead? Yun Luofeng asked in a daze. I've heard of this pearl before. It contains a very powerful force. If milk tea could digest this bead, it would become very powerful. But looking at it now, it was obvious that it couldn't digest it by itself. Therefore, I need you to help it, Master. All right. Then I'll think of a way to return to Yellow Spring City. No, Master, milk tea can't wait any longer. You can only stay here to help it digest this bead. If you delay any longer, it will die. Yun Luofeng didn't think the consequences would be so serious. She raised her hand and slapped milk tea's butt. Let's see if you still dare to be so greedy in the future. Gigi. Milk tea cried out in regret. She didn't expect that she, who always had a good stomach, would have indigestion. He could only look at Yun Luofeng with pleading eyes. Master, is milk tea okay? Lin Ruabai asked worriedly. Little White, it seems that we need to stay here for a while. I need to help her digest this bead. Yun Luofeng's expression gradually became serious. Chapter 607. Milk tea clutched her stomach and rolled around on the ground, moaning in pain. Yun Luofeng did not have time to explain the situation to Lin Ruabai and quickly placed her hand on her stomach. Faint spiritual energy penetrated milk tea's small body and entered her organs. Perhaps it was because of this spiritual energy. Milk tea was no longer in pain and her moaning gradually subsided. Time passed by in the cave. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. In a corner, Lin Ruabai, who was sitting cross-legged in cultivation, opened her eyes. She looked at Yun Luofeng, who was still digesting the black bead for milk tea inside. It's been a year. What on earth did milk tea swallow? Even with Master's help, she still hasn't been able to digest it in a year. However, milk tea had been breaking through every few months during this year. Lin Ruabai was shocked at first, but over time, she had gotten used to it and was no longer surprised. Who asked her master to be such a pervert? Her little pet must also be a little pervert. Whoosh! Milk tea's body emitted the aura of a breakthrough once again. However, Lin Ruobai could no longer tell what realm she had broken through to. This was because she could sense that milk tea was completely different from a year ago. At this moment, she was giving off an extremely powerful and dangerous aura. Yun Luofeng had naturally improved during this year. While she had been helping milk tea digest the black bead, she had been cultivating as well. However, because she had been distracted, her cultivation speed had not been as fast as before. Even so, she had now broken through to the mid-stage of a heavenly spirit warrior and was on the verge of a breakthrough. She only needed an opportunity to successfully advance to a high-level heavenly spirit warrior. Finally, under Lin Ruobai's watchful gaze, Yun Luofeng opened her eyes and the corners of her lips curled into a devilish smile. "Milk tea, how do you feel now?" Milk tea blinked and replied in her soft and squeaky voice, "Thank you, master." Perhaps it was because she had just learned how to speak, but her words were not very fluent. However, her eyes were filled with gratitude. As if she had been struck by lightning, Lin Ruobai was dumbfounded. She stared at milk tea in astonishment. "Milk tea, you can speak? When spiritual beasts reach a certain level, they'll be able to speak." Milk tea's voice was cute and soft like cotton. "However, if I didn't have a master, I wouldn't have learned to speak so quickly." Lin Ruobai looked as if she had discovered a new continent. Her face was shining brightly, and her eyes were shining as she stared unblinkingly at the milk tea. "Milk tea, are you male or female?" Milk tea looked at Lin Ruobai with disdain. "Of course I'm a male. Have you ever seen a female? Where is it? Let me have a look." Lin Ruobai pulled milk tea over, pressed it to the ground, and poked its white and tender belly with his finger. "Where? Why can't I find it?" Milk tea squeaked. It raised its paw and slapped away Lin Ruobai's hand, then burrowed into the ground in embarrassment. With milk tea's strength, her drilling speed was much faster than before. Soon, she drilled a big hole and hid her whole body inside. "This little guy still dares to escape." Lin Ruobai rolled up her sleeves and was about to enter the cave when Yun Luofeng suddenly reached out and grabbed her. "Wait, master!" Lin Ruobai turned around in confusion and asked, "What's wrong?" Chapter 608. Yun Luofeng did not speak and quietly listened to her surroundings. After a long while, she instructed, "Milk tea, dig a little bigger." "Okay." Milk tea emerged from the hole and continued to dig. Not long after, a long hole appeared in front of Yun Luofeng. Lin Ruobai was stunned when she saw the scene inside the hole. "There's a path underground? Xiao Bai, let's go in and take a look. Perhaps we can find a way out." As soon as he finished speaking, Yun Luofeng leaped up and vanished from the cave. Lin Ruobai did not hesitate and hurriedly followed Yun Luofeng into the deep hole. The moment she entered the ground, her entire body froze. This was an underground palace. It was dazzling and brightly lit. It could not be compared to the simple and shabby cave. This place must have been built by a powerful cultivator. "Xiao Bai, we can't stay here. Let's leave immediately." Lin Ruobai did not move. She stared blankly at a mural hanging on the wall in front of her. Her eyes were glued to it. "Xiao Bai?" Yun Luofeng frowned and followed Lin Ruobai's gaze. Instantly, the image of a devastatingly beautiful man on the mural was reflected in her eyes. This man could be described as an evildoer. How beautiful was he! Even the words unparalleled in his generation, and capable of captivating all living things were insufficient to describe him. He was sitting on a dark golden dragon throne with his right hand supporting his face. Even though his expression looked calm, his demeanor was arrogant and domineering. He was dressed in a bright red robe that revealed his delicate collarbones. The corners of his lips were tilted upwards and curled into an arrogant smile. "Xiao Bai, who is he?" Yun Luofeng gently stroked her chin and looked at the beautiful man with admiration. "Dr. Zhu Qian." The Dr. Zhu Qian was a legend from 1,000 years ago. However, when she heard this name, Yun Luofeng could not help but think of the book that had been sold at the auction. "This is the resting place of the Dr. Zhu Qian?" Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes. No, this should be a temporary palace that he had built. It's not his resting place. "Master, look, there's a book in that corner." Lin Ruobai pointed at the corner in front of him and exclaimed. Yun Luofeng's gaze gradually swept towards the corner in front of him. He slowly walked forward and carefully picked up the book on the ground. This book had clearly been around for a long time. There was a thick layer of dust on it. Yun Luofeng gently patted away the dust and immediately saw the words on the book. It belongs to the fated. Yun Luofeng slowly flipped open the book in his hands. The first page had a few lines of somewhat blurry handwriting. Fortunately, even though the words were somewhat blurry, they could still be seen clearly. Everyone knows that I, Zhu Qian, am the god of medicine. Actually, medical skills are not my true interest. Therefore, I did not study medicine. What interested me was the creation of life. Create life? Yun Luofeng was startled. Could it be that life could also be created through human means? When he thought of this, Yun Luofeng continued to flip the pages. I've always wondered how humans came to be. I believe that humans can use some methods to create them. Therefore, I used my entire life to study the origins of humans. Unfortunately, after countless studies, I could only create some lifeless things. I call these things puppets. Chapter 609. These puppets only have the appearance of humans but have no thoughts of their own. They can only obey orders unconditionally, just like walking corpses. However, I never expected that the things that I had researched would be leaked out, causing me to be hunted down by countless powerful cultivators. Those laughable fellows actually used high-sounding reasons to cheat me of my finished products. They even claimed that I would use these puppets to commit evil and that they were acting on behalf of the heavens. Acting on behalf of the heavens? Ha ha ha. Could it be that they don't know that I, Zhu Qian, have never been afraid of even the heavens? If the heavens want me dead, so what if I go against the heavens? I've never believed in the heavenly axiom. I only know that those who obey me will prosper, and those who oppose me will die. Hence, I killed those laughable things. Because of this, I've suffered the joint pursuit of all the powerful cultivators on the mainland. They must eradicate a scourge like me. Those old fellows' pursuit of me has annoyed me to no end. Hence, I've come to this place and written down the method of making puppets in hopes that the fated person will obtain it. I also hope that the fated person can help me complete my unfulfilled wish. Next, I'm going to find those exuberant old fellows and have a fight to the death. I'm even prepared to perish together with them. If I fail, my soul will fall into their hands. My soul will fall into their hands, and they can use some methods to obtain my memories. Hence, before I leave, I'll seal my memories. I'll make sure that they'll never be able to obtain the method of making puppets. Lin Ruobai had also read the contents of the book and came to a sudden realization. According to historical records, the divine Dr. Zhu Qian had suddenly disappeared from the mainland 1,000 years ago. It turned out that he had actually been hunted down because of his treasures. However, these matters were not recorded in the historical records. That's right. How could the powerful cultivators who were in charge of the mainland allow their evil deeds to be made public? Hence, they had erased this part of the content so that no one knew of Zhu Qian's whereabouts. It seems that Zhu Qian must have met with a mishap back then. Master, I'm not interested in this puppet and I can't fulfill the divine doctor's wish. Lin Ruobai blinked and said with a grin, So, I'll leave this book in your care. However, you must hide it well and not let anyone find it. Otherwise, you'll definitely be hunted down like Zhu Qian. Everyone in the world knew that Zhu Qian's medical skills were brilliant, and he was even given the title of Dr. God. Who would have thought that this man did not concentrate on studying medical skills, but chose to create life? Let's go. Yun Luofeng put away the medical book and looked back at the painting on the wall. The man in the painting still had an arrogant expression on his face. His lips curled into an arrogant smile. His body leaned against the back of the dragon throne, his palms gently supporting his face. At this moment, she finally understood why the man in the painting was so arrogant. All of his expressions were directed at the expert who had hunted him down in the past. One had to admit that Yun Luofeng's trip to Othershore Mountain this time was extremely fruitful. Not only did she successfully obtain the soul seed, but milk tea's strength had also increased a lot. Most importantly, She had picked up the book that Zhu Qian had left behind. Life creation. Could life in this world really be created through special means? Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes, which were filled with a strong light of interest. At this moment, she was already very interested in the creation of life. Chapter 6:10. Outside the palace was the other shore mountain. Yun Luofeng never expected that they would leave in this manner. After leaving the palace, she gently raised her brows and said, "It's getting late and we've been delayed for a year. Let's return to Netherworld City first before leaving this place." In the Chun family's cherry blossom forest, the melodious sound of a guqin could be heard like flowing water. At this moment, a man was playing the guqin wholeheartedly and did not notice the sudden appearance of a white robe. Yun Luofeng stared silently at the man in front of him. Even though his hair was still snow-white, his complexion was much better and his handsome face had a tinge of color. Clang! As if sensing something, the man stopped playing the guqin and raised his head. When he saw Yun Luofeng in front of him, he was stunned. Then his eyes filled with excitement. You're back?" This young girl had been gone for a year. In this 1 year, he had sent countless experts from the Chun family to search for her whereabouts, but they had never found her. Initially, he had thought that she had met with misfortune and was about to inform Tianya of everything that had happened. He never thought that she would return at this time. "I was caught up in some matters, so I came back late. I'll be leaving this place soon, so I dropped by to see how you're recovering. You seem to be doing well." Qian Yuqing smiled gently as he stared at the young girl's beautiful face. However, his voice was filled with sadness. "I don't know when we'll meet again after you leave this time. We'll meet if we're fated." "We'll meet if we're fated?" Chun Yuqing's eyes flickered. Suddenly he smiled gently. "That's right. We'll meet if we're fated. I believe that we'll meet again in the future. I'm leaving. Take care." Yun Luofeng turned to look at Chun Yuqing before he turned around and walked out of the Chun family's main gate. At this moment, she could feel someone's gaze fixed on her from behind. It made her feel as if her back weighed 1,000 pounds. "Master." Lin Ruobai had been waiting for Yun Luofeng at the door. When he saw her appear, his eyes lit up and he hurried over to greet her. "Are we going home now?" Yun Luofeng shook his head. "No, let's go to the Big Dipper gang first. Once we're done with the gang, we'll leave this place." Perhaps it was because Yun Luofeng's whereabouts had been unknown for a year. The Big Dipper gang members were rather dispirited. They no longer had the intention to fight for territory with others. At this moment, at the entrance of the Big Dipper gang, a sharp-eyed gang member caught sight of Yun Luofeng walking over. His eyes immediately lit up. Gang leader? Gang leader is back." He hurriedly ran into the Big Dipper gang, shouting as he ran. "The sect leader is back. Quickly inform the vice sect leader. Gang leader is back. Gang leader is back?" For a time, the Big Dipper gang was in chaos. Everyone spread the news, and soon, everyone in the Big Dipper gang knew that their gang leader had returned. In the beginning, the members of the Big Dipper gang had not been willing to submit to Yun Luofeng. However, ever since Yun Luofeng had led them to destroy the Sky Marshal Pavilion, they had long since been convinced by her. Her reputation in the Big Dipper gang had long since surpassed Murong Bei, who had established his own gang. Chapter 6:11. Murong Bei hurriedly rushed over when he heard the news. He saw Yun Luofeng, who was standing in the courtyard, and opened his mouth. His dry throat was unable to make a sound. After a long pause, he calmed his emotions and smiled. "Sect Master, you're back?" Yun Luofeng nodded gently. "Murong Bei, come with me. I have something to tell you before I leave." "Yes, Sect Master." Murong Bei's expression was respectful. "Why don't we talk in my cultivation room, Sect Master?" Yun Luofeng did not reply and walked towards Murong Bei's cultivation room. Murong Bei's cultivation room was very simple. There was only a mat on the ground. His sharp eyes noticed that Yun Luofeng was frowning slightly and immediately brought a chair over from somewhere else. He then spoke in a flattering manner. "Sect Master, please have a seat." Yun Luofeng straightened her white robes and sat down in a domineering manner. She gently propped her head up with her hand as her evil eyes swept towards the man who was standing before her. Morong Bei, if I were to give you the chance to stand at the top, would you have the confidence? The young girl's face lit up with a smile as her pitch-black eyes stared quietly at Morong Bei. Morong Bei's eyes lit up when he heard this and his breathing quickened. Sect Master, if such an opportunity presents itself, I will definitely grasp it. All right, remember what you've said recently. Yun Luofeng gently raised her brows. Once you've climbed to the top of the Yellow Springs, you can look for me in General Yun's mansion in Long Yuan Country. Before you reach that position, I will never see you. Morong Bei's gaze gradually became determined. He knew that this was Yun Luofeng's test for him. Only by climbing to the top of the Yellow Springs could he pass her test. Don't worry, Sect Master. I won't let you down. I hope so. Yun Luofeng gently raised her brows and curled her lips into a lazy angle. Once you've climbed to the top of the Yellow Springs, you'll have the right to become my subordinate. I'll be waiting for you in Long Yuan Country. Morong Bei's guess was right. This was indeed a test for him. Times had changed. Back then, she had accepted the Steel Flame Army because she had no other choice. Now, unless the other party had the ability that was worthy of her wholeheartedly nurturing, she would not take out the treasures in the divine grimoire space. Even though Morong Bei had already given his heart to her, she still wanted to test whether this man was worth it or not. Climbing to the number 1 position in the Yellow Springs was her test for her. I finished speaking. Morong Bei, whether or not you can grasp this opportunity is entirely up to you. Yun Luofeng rose from his chair as the corners of his lips curled into an arrogant yet confident smile. Furthermore, believe me, if you miss this opportunity, you won't have another one like this again. Morong Bei's heart sank bit by bit. He understood that Yun Luofeng was speaking the truth. This was indeed a golden opportunity. Sect leader. Suddenly, he raised his head and stared at the young girl's devilish eyes. He said in a serious tone, "Give me 3 years. After 3 years, I will go to Long Yuan Nation to look for you." Yun Luofeng's lips curved into a faint smile. Without saying anything more, she walked towards the door. The moment she reached the door, the young girl paused in her steps and raised her hand. With her back facing Morong Bei, she waved goodbye and disappeared under the dazzling sunlight without looking back. Morong Bei's heart grew even more determined as he stared in the direction where the young girl had left. He also understood that this was his only chance. He must grasp it firmly in his hands. Chapter 6:12. The Medicine City. The restaurant was luxurious. In a corner by the window, a young girl tilted her head slightly. Her hand gently propped up her chin and her gaze was fixed outside the window. In front of this young girl sat a little girl who was about the same age as her. However, this little girl only cared about stuffing food into her mouth. Not long after, her cheeks were bulging and her mouth was full of food scraps. I heard that the doctor's conference that was originally planned to be held 2 years later has been brought forward to 2 months later. A sigh rang out from the main hall of the restaurant. Actually, this doctor's conference is an occasion for doctors to compete for treasures. Their medical skills are secondary. But do you know why the doctor's conference has been brought forward? I'm not sure about that. I heard that our governor has already rushed to the Doctors' Association. The crowd's discussion finally caused the young girl to react. She picked up the sword on the table, stood up and said, "The people of the Medicine City will not be in the Medicine City for now. There's no point in us staying here. Xiao Bai, let's set off and head to the Doctors' Association." Huh? Lin Ruobai raised his head in a daze and said pitifully, "But I haven't finished eating yet." As soon as he finished speaking, Yun Luofeng grabbed Lin Ruobai's arm and walked out of the restaurant. "It's getting late, we need to leave early. Also, before we leave, we need to give the Medicine City some gifts." The city lord's mansion was majestic and heavily guarded. Just as Yun Luofeng neared the city lord's mansion, he was blocked by 2 guards. "Stop! This is the governor's mansion. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to enter." Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips. Her smile was sinister and cold as it slowly rang out in the gentle breeze. Did I say that I wanted to enter? The guard's expression darkened. Then what are you doing here? Murder and arson. The young girl's red lips parted and her domineering words reverberated through the gates of the governor's mansion. At this moment, the governor's mansion was already surrounded by many people. They were pointing at Yun Luofeng and Lin Ruobai, and their eyes were filled with sympathy. Perhaps they never thought that someone would dare to disrespect the governor's mansion in the Medicine City. Impudent! The guard's face suddenly turned ashen, and he said sternly, "Kill anyone who dares to cause trouble in the city lord's mansion." In an instant, countless guards rushed out of the city lord's mansion and shouted in unison. Bright swords dazzled everyone's eyes. "Xiao Bai, move aside." Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes and shouted coldly. Lin Ruobai obediently walked to the side. She sucked on her fingers and blinked her big eyes at Yun Luofeng. Was Master going to commit arson and murder people? Thinking of this, Lin Ruobai's eyes flashed with excitement, and he grinned, revealing two cute canine teeth. Boom! Just as the guards rushed in front of Yun Luofeng, the girl's powerful aura suddenly surged out and attacked them. Her aura was like an invisible sword that instantly pierced through her opponent's body. The young governor of the Medicine City was inferior to others in the past and injured my second uncle. Did you ever think that I would kill my way to your doorstep today? Yun Luofeng gently raised the corners of her lips, and a dangerous aura surged endlessly from her body. However, they are luckier and are not in the Medicine City today. I don't want to come here for nothing. So, I can only kill everyone else in the Medicine City and set the governor's mansion on fire. The girl's eyes were domineering and overbearing. Her white robes fluttered in the gentle breeze. Even the words peerless beauty were insufficient to describe the shock she brought to people. Chapter 613. Whoosh! Just as the crowd was in the midst of their shock, a dark green flame erupted from the young girl's body. The flames blossomed like a green lotus next to her. At this moment, she was so beautiful that it made one forget to breathe. Boom! The flames instantly attacked the governor's palace. In an instant, the entire palace was turned into a sea of fire. Once Yun Luofeng was done, she turned around and walked to Lin Ruobai's side. "All right, we can leave now." She had come here to settle the score with the Medicine City. Unfortunately, the governor of the Medicine City was not here. However, she did not want to make a wasted trip. Hence, she had set fire to the governor's palace. When the surrounding people understood this point, they could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. This woman really does not want to suffer any losses. She's not even willing to make a wasted trip and wants to recoup some of her costs. The Doctors Association could be considered as the most powerful organization in the Roaring Dragon mainland. This was because the Doctors Association controls countless powerful doctors on the mainland. Moreover, no one was unaware of the influence of the doctors. What? At this moment, in the association, Lin Gu slammed the table and rose to his feet. His handsome features turned ashen as he gritted his teeth. "You're saying that Yun Luofeng has gone to the Medicine City and had set fire to the governor's palace while I was away?" Reporting to the governor, "This is news from the Medicine City. It can't be false." "All right." Lin Gu clenched his fist and laughed in anger. "Yun Luofeng, how dare you? Such audacity is unforgivable. If it wasn't for the importance of the Doctors Association, I would have made sure that this woman dies without a burial place. However, it doesn't matter. The day I leave the Doctors Association will be the day of that woman's death. Father." Just then, a graceful voice sounded from the doorway. Hearing this familiar voice, Lin Gu gradually calmed the anger in his heart. His face regained a smile as he raised his head. "Yiting, why are you here?" Lin Yiting smiled and slowly walked into the room. "I'm only here to take a look." "Father, what's going on? Why are you so angry?" "Humph. It's all because of those bastards from the Yun family." Lin Ji's expression sank once again. "That bitch Yun Luofeng took advantage of my absence and ran to the Medicine City. He even burned the governor's mansion. How could I not be angry?" Lin Yiting's smile was elegant and beautiful, her eyebrows glowing with a moving brilliance. "Father, It's just a city lord's mansion. When the time comes, your daughter will help you capture Yun Luofeng and force her to rebuild the city lord's mansion. Wouldn't that be even better? I will definitely ask her to build you a magnificent mansion. Lin Go shook his head. Daughter, you don't know Yun Luofeng's temper. She would never be so obedient. That woman is even harder to deal with than her second uncle. Father, you're wrong. Lin Yuting sat down next to Lin Guo and said with a chuckle, all the doctors in the world, except for Tianya, have to obey the orders of the Doctors Association. At that time, with my position in the Doctors Association, wouldn't it be very easy to order her to do something? Lin Gu was stunned. Yuting, what do you mean by that? What I mean is... Lin Yuting paused. I want a rope in Yun Luofeng. What? Lin Gu slammed the table and stood up, saying angrily. Yun Qingya caused hunger to lose all his face back then, and he still hasn't recovered from the blow even after so many years. Yun Luofeng even burned down my city lord's mansion, and now you actually want to rope her in? I definitely won't agree. Chapter 6:14. Lin Yuting frowned slightly and patiently explained. Father, Yun Luofeng's talent is not bad. I do want to rope her in. You also know that this doctor's association is not easy to get along with. Master's bloodline needs to increase the number of experts in order to not fall behind others. Otherwise, if Master and I's positions are occupied by others, would the medical city still have such a glorious time? Lin Gu fell silent. But, the Yun family's Yun Qingya. Father, I know you're fighting for your brother. However, I hope that you can temporarily put down your hatred for Yun Qingya and help me. As long as I'm doing well, the medical city will be able to stand tall. Lin Gu sighed lightly. He knew that what Lin Yuting said was the truth. The reason why the medical city could have such a glorious appearance was all because of his adopted daughter. If she lost her position, the medical city would also fall in an instant. Although I agree with your words, I still need to remind you that Yun Luofeng's medical skills are indeed very strong. If she takes away your position in the Doctors Association, then you can rest assured about this. As long as I rope her in, I have a way to make her loyal to me for the rest of her life. Lin Yuting laughed. Her words filled with confidence. Sigh. Lin Gu laughed bitterly and said helplessly, since you've already made such a decision, what else can I do? I will listen to you and forcefully eliminate the anger in my heart. But I will never be able to let go of this grudge. In addition, I heard that Yun Luofeng and Tianya joined hands to destroy the Tian family. Do you think they are related? Lin Yuting's face revealed an elegant smile. Father, you probably don't know, right? There is enmity between the Tian family and Tianya. I've heard about this from the president before, but I don't know much about the specific situation. It seems that the Tian family forced Tianya to marry another woman, causing him to be separated from his beloved. Thus, Tianya hates the Tian family. At this point, Lin Yuting paused for a moment. So, this is just a coincidence. The Tian family provoked Yun Luofeng. At the same time, they also provoked Tianya, and they coincidentally went up the heavenly mountain together. If Yun Luofeng was really related to Tianya, then our medical city would have long since ceased to exist. Lin Gu nodded and agreed. What you said makes sense. Now, I still have one last question. If Yun Luofeng doesn't accept your roping in, then what should we do? Lin Yuting smiled mysteriously and said confidently, she will agree. Suddenly, a disciple of the association hurriedly walked in from outside the door. He cupped his fists and said to Lin Yuting, Senior Sister Yuting, Elder Luo Fu wants you to go. Master is looking for me? Lin Yuting frowned slightly. Okay, I got it. Tell Master that I'll go see him later. Yes. The disciple cupped his fists and left. After the disciple left, Lin Yuting continued, Father, remember what I said just now. Yun Luofeng's talent is not bad. She will be very useful to me. After saying that, Lin Yuting didn't ask if Lin Go had listened to her words. She glanced at him with her beautiful eyes and turned to walk out the door. Staring in the direction of the woman's departure, Lin Ji's face darkened bit by bit. He clenched his fists tightly, and the sound of his bones cracking could be heard. As expected, she's not my biological daughter. She clearly doesn't have the same heart as me. I was hoping that she could take revenge for me, but I didn't expect that she would want to rope in Yun Luofeng. If it wasn't for the medical city, I definitely wouldn't have agreed to her. Yun Qingya had caused his son to lose face, and Yun Luofeng had burned down the city lord's mansion. Chapter 6:15. How could he forget this enmity so easily? If Lin Yiting's words were not very reasonable, how could he be willing to watch his enemy jump around in this world? City lord, then what should we do next? The guard asked carefully. What else can we do? Yun Luofeng has Elder Ning's help. If I don't have the Doctors Association's help, I won't be able to kill him. So we can only let the Yun family go for now. However, if I get the chance, I'll make sure these people die without a complete corpse. Lin Gu clenched his fists tightly and gritted his teeth as he spoke. A sinister light flashed across his eyes and his face was full of malevolence. It was completely different from when he was facing Lin Yuting. In the study, the smell of sandalwood wafted into the air. The old man sat on the study table and quietly read a book in his hands. At this moment, the door to the study was pushed open. He raised his head and looked over. In an instant, the yellow-haired woman who had appeared at the door of the study entered his old eyes. The old man smiled. Yiting, you're here? Lin Yuting nodded lightly. Master, why did you call me here? Because the Doctors Association has made a decision. Luo Fu's lips curled into a smile. We will invite the Ghost Emperor to participate in this meeting. Ghost Emperor? Lin Yiting was slightly shocked. You mean the Ghost Emperor who suddenly rose to power in the past few years? He's not a doctor, so why would he participate in this meeting? More importantly, with the Ghost Emperor's cold and murderous personality, why would he agree to this request? Yiting, this is the President's decision. I don't know why the Ghost Emperor is here. As for why the Ghost Emperor agreed, I don't know either. However, I understand that this is a good opportunity. What opportunity? Lin Yiting frowned and asked. Do you know how strong the Ghost Emperor is? Luo Fu glanced at Lin Yiting and asked. Lin Yiting shook her head. I don't know, no. I should say that no one knows what realm this man is at. He's a legend. Luo Fu chuckled and narrowed his eyes with a cunning light. Even though I don't know what realm this Ghost Emperor is at, but I know that President is no match for him. Lin Yiting's body trembled. She raised her head and looked at the old man in shock. Her throat was a little dry. What did you say? Even the guild leader can't beat him? That's right. The president fought with that man 2 months ago and lost. She lost completely. Luo Fu had a complicated look in his eyes. In the eyes of everyone in the Doctors Association, their president, who was revered like a god, had actually lost to a man. Master, you've said so much. What do you want me to do? Lin Yiting didn't understand Luo Fu's thoughts and asked directly. Luo Fu's eyes flickered a few times. This time, I've already asked the president to let you be the judge for the competition. At that time, you would be in a favorable position to enjoy the moonlight first. You might even be able to obtain the Ghost Emperor's love. Hearing Luo Fu's words, Lin Yiting lowered her eyes, and a strange light flashed across her eyes. At this moment, her mind became active. Since the Ghost Emperor was so powerful, if he could obtain this man, wouldn't it be equivalent to obtaining a powerful backer? Within the Doctors Association, who would dare to fight with her? Chapter 6:16. Yiting, I've already given you the best chance. Don't disappoint your master. Luo Fu saw that Lin Yiting had already made up her mind and said earnestly, Master, I know what to do. Lin Yiting raised her head and looked at Luo Fu seriously. Even if I fail in the end, I still want to try. Love was not something that could be achieved just because you said it would. That was why Lin Yiting did not make such a solemn vow. But no matter what, she had to try. She had to do everything she could to pursue him. Luo Fu laughed. Yiting, your personality is still the same. You won't say things that you're not sure of. But your master is very confident in you. I believe that the Ghost Emperor will not give up on a perfect woman like you. Unless the ghost emperor was blind, he would not like Lin Yuting. Of course, Luo Fu didn't dare to say this out loud. Otherwise, if the ghost emperor heard about it, even if he had taken a liking to Lin Yuting, he would still fly into a rage out of humiliation. Master, I have another matter to talk to you about. Lin Yuting's gaze gradually became serious. I want to recruit Yun Luofeng on behalf of the Doctors Association, so I want to ask you to send an invitation to the Yun family and invite Yun Luofeng to attend the doctors' conference. Oh? Luo Fu's expression was a little surprised. As far as I know, your father has a grudge with the Yun family. Why do you want to recruit Yun Luofeng? Lin Yuting smiled elegantly. No matter how deep the grudge is, it is not as important as the Doctors Association. For Master, I will let go of my grudge and do my best to recruit Yun Luofeng. Ha ha ha. Luo Fu laughed heartily. He stood up and patted Lin Yuting's shoulder. You're truly my disciple. It's rare for you to have the temperament to return good for evil. Your master is proud of you. His eyes were full of smiles as he looked at his disciple with satisfaction. If there's nothing else, you can go and rest. I will send someone to send an invitation to the Yun family in a moment. Yes, master, your disciple will take her leave. Lin Yuting cupped her fists elegantly. After saying this, she turned and left the study, slowly walking towards the courtyard. The Physician Association was divided into various factions, and there were constant conflicts between the elders. However, if they were to face other enemies, they would stand united against them. This was also the reason why the entire Doctors Association stood out to protect the medical city back then. To the Doctors Association, the medical city was one of their own. Even if there was a huge conflict between them, they should not allow them to be harmed by foreign enemies. Otherwise, where would the Doctors Association put its face? At this time, in the elders' courtyard, Lin Yuting had just stepped out of the door when she heard the disdainful voices of the other elders and disciples. I don't know what tricks Lin Yuting used, but the president actually let her take the position of the referee. In the past, the judges were all elders. That's right. She must have heard that the Ghost Emperor was coming to the Doctors Association, so she wanted to get close to him first. How dare he approach the Ghost Emperor? How shameless! Hee hee. The Ghost Emperor wears a mask all year round. No one has ever seen his face under the mask. Lin Yuting now wants to get close to him for the sake of the Ghost Emperor's strength. If the Ghost Emperor takes off his mask and discovers that he is extremely ugly, who knows if Lin Yuting will be so disgusted that she won't be able to eat. Those people's words seemed to be purposely said for Lin Yuting to hear, so they did not restrain themselves because of her appearance. Chapter 6:17. Lin Yuting furrowed her brows slightly. She swept her cold gaze across the crowd and a cold light flashed across her eyes. However, she did not say a word and continued walking forward. As a result, the crowd's discussions became even louder. Isn't Lin Yuting relying on her talent and Elder Luo Fu's position to be so powerful? That's why she's so lawless. However, she has a brother who likes to stir up trouble at home. I can guarantee that brother of hers will continue to stir up trouble for her. The Ghost Emperor would never marry a woman like her. Otherwise, wouldn't he lose face in a place like the medical city? Lin Yuting remained expressionless and ignored the jealous voices of those people. However, a disciple next to her could not stand it anymore and shouted angrily at the crowd. Who says that the Ghost Emperor would lose face if he marries Senior Sister Yuting? Senior Sister Yuting is so beautiful. Not only is she talented and beautiful, but she's also very talented. She holds a lot of weight in the Doctors Association. It's his fortune to be able to marry Senior Sister Yuting. What does the incident in the medical city have to do with Senior Sister Yuting? Does she have to bear the wrongs of her father and brother? Aren't you just jealous that Senior Sister Yuting can stand by the Ghost Emperor's side? How dare you say that the Ghost Emperor is ugly? Even if the Ghost Emperor is ugly, Senior Sister Yuting is not someone who judges a book by its cover. Lin Yuting did not stop the disciple at first. She waited for him to finish before she pretended to berate him. Why are you arguing with them? I, Lin Yuting, have always been upright and upright. I'm not afraid of their words. There's no point in arguing with them. I might as well take this opportunity to cultivate. The disciple's eyes lit up and he said in admiration, Senior Sister Yiting is not only calm and unafraid of rumors, but you're also very hard-working. If I were the Ghost Emperor, I would definitely marry Senior Sister Yiting. Lin Yiting smiled. I only want to focus on cultivation now. I don't want to talk about romance. Also, even if you're driven mad by these people, you can't say that it's the Ghost Emperor's fortune to marry me. I don't think I'm that outstanding. After all, there are many areas that I need to improve on. She really didn't want to talk about romance. She just wanted to be the Ghost Emperor's wife. The reason why she said those words was because she knew that the Ghost Emperor had eyes and ears all over the world. Perhaps her words would reach his ears. If you want a man to fall in love with a woman, you must let that man start from admiration. If the Ghost Emperor admired her, then she wouldn't be too far from that step. I'm going to cultivate now. No matter what these people say, just let them say whatever they want. There's no need to defend yourself. She had an elegant smile on her face, and her calm demeanor made some of the surrounding women gnash their teeth in hatred. Unfortunately, they understood that their talents were inferior to Lin Yiting's, so they could only watch as she approached the Ghost Emperor. A huge mountain towered into the clouds. On this huge mountain, there was a flourishing city. The Doctors' Association, which was revered as a god by the people, was located in the very center of this city. At this moment, Yun Luofeng stopped in his tracks at the entrance of the Doctors' Association. He gently stroked his chin as he raised his head to look at the imposing entrance. The corners of his lips curled into an evil smile. This is the Doctors' Association. Xiaobai, we're here. Stop! Just as she was about to step in, someone suddenly blocked her way and asked coldly, Your invitation? Chapter 618. Invitation. Yun Luofeng was startled. He turned around and looked at Lin Ruobai. You need an invitation to attend the doctor's conference? Why didn't Tianya tell her about this? In fact, Tianya didn't expect the doctor's conference to be held in advance. He thought that he could wait until Yun Luofeng returned. Thus, he didn't tell her that day. Lin Ruobai shook her head in confusion. I don't know anything. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng frowned. If she had known earlier, she would have gone to the medical pavilion and entered the Doctors' Association with the people there. If you don't have an invitation, leave quickly. The guard outside the medical city said coldly with a cold expression. He had seen many people who wanted to sneak into the Doctors' Association. Without an invitation, no one was allowed to enter. Yun Luofeng? Suddenly, a questioning voice rang out from within the association, attracting Yun Luofeng's attention. It was a noble and elegant woman dressed in a yellow dress. She had a smile on her face and her bright eyes were shining. You know me? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and looked at the woman who had appeared at the door. When the guard saw that Yun Luofeng actually knew Lin Yiting, he was shocked. He quickly cupped his fists and said, Senior Sister Yiting, I didn't know that this lady knew you, so I won't argue with you this time. Lin Yiting waved her hand. Next time, you have to remember that those who come to the Doctors' Association are guests. You can't be rude to guests. After saying this, she turned her gaze to Yun Luofeng and smiled. I just asked my master to send you an invitation. I didn't expect you to appear here. Oh right, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Lin Yiting. The city lord of the medical city, Lin Gu, is my father. As for why I know you, it's because I've seen your portrait. She had indeed seen Yun Luofeng's portrait. Not only Yun Luofeng, but even Yun Qingya and Old Man Yun had portraits of them in the medical city. The reason for this was none other than the fact that his debauchee older brother hated the Yun family to the bone. Thus, he ordered the people who visited the Yun family to draw their portraits and paste them on the walls. Every day he would spit on these portraits and sometimes he would even pee on them. How could Lin Yiting not recognize that the girl in front of her was Yun Luofeng? Someone from the medical city? Yun Luofeng's eyes darkened as he asked. My father and your Yun family have some misunderstandings, but this is not a big problem. I will apologize to you on behalf of my father. Lin Yiting said with a slight smile. Facing the elegant woman before him, Yun Luofeng's lips curled into an eerie smile. Misunderstanding? If I break your legs, cripple your strength, and force you to hide in darkness for 10 years, and after 10 years, I tell you that this is just a misunderstanding, will you really think that this is just a misunderstanding? If it had been anyone else, they would have flown into a rage out of humiliation after being treated so rudely by Yun Luofeng. However, Lin Yuting still had an elegant smile on her face. That's why I said I apologize to you on behalf of my father. All right, Yun Luofeng laughed. Then I'll let you receive the same treatment as my second uncle, and then let my disciple apologize on my behalf. Do you think that's possible? 10 years of living in darkness without daylight. 10 years of living a life worse than death. How could he be appeased with just an apology? Second uncle had suffered so much, so she must seek justice for him. He would never let the people of the Medicine City get away scot-free. Chapter 619. Lin Yuting's eyes darkened, but she quickly regained her composure. Her face retained its graceful smile as she said, Lady Yun, I know that you're angry now, but I believe that you're here to join the doctors' conference as well. Hence, it's better for you to follow me into the Doctors' Association first. She did not seem to take Yun Luofeng's words to heart as she turned towards the guard at the door and spoke in a gentle voice. Lady Yun is my friend, and she has also been invited to join the doctors' conference. Hence, you may let her in now. Yes, senior sister Yuting. The guard stepped aside and replied respectfully. Let's go. Lin Yuting's gaze fell upon Yun Luofeng as she smiled gracefully. You only need to follow me in. No one will stop you. What she meant was that if Yun Luofeng does not follow her, she would not be able to enter the Doctors' Association. Regarding this point, Lin Yuting was very confident. Since Yun Luofeng was not a member of the Doctors' Association, she would need an invitation if she wishes to join the conference. These invitations would have to be sent out through her hands. As long as Yun Luofeng follows her into the Doctors' Association, it would mean that she would become one of her people. However, just as Lin Yuting thought that Yun Luofeng would certainly agree, the young girl finally spoke again. Her words caused Lin Yuting's brows to sink. There's no need. Lin Yuting gently furrowed her brows. Is this woman really that stubborn? She was about to continue to persuade her when suddenly, an elderly laugh rang out. Haha, Yun girl, you've come as well. Yun Luofeng turned her gaze to the side when she heard this familiar voice. She stared at the old man who was walking towards her and smiled. Elder Rong, long time no see. The person before her was none other than Elder Rong from the Medicine Pavilion. He never thought that they would bump into each other so coincidentally at the main entrance of the Doctors' Association. Elder Rong acted as if he didn't see Lin Yuting and walked to Yun Luofeng's side. Girl, I knew that you would definitely come to participate in the Doctors' Association this time. So a few months ago, I asked our pavilion master to ask for an extra invitation from the association. I was originally wondering if I could bump into you on the way, but who would have thought that we would really meet? By the way, here's your invitation. Lin Yuting could no longer maintain her usual elegance. Her face darkened slightly, and she clenched her fists tightly to suppress the anger in her heart. Since Miss Yun already has an invitation, I shall not disturb you any further. Goodbye. Lin Yuting narrowed her eyes and glanced at Yun Luofeng and Elder Rong. She forced a smile. Then, she walked into the association without looking back. Girl. Elder Rong frowned. How did you end up meeting Lin Yuting? Yun Luofeng shrugged his shoulders. She said that she would apologize to me on behalf of the city lord of the medical city and asked me to forgive her. Apologize? Elder Rong sneered. How dare she say that? Also, I heard that the medical city had been burned down by someone. Was it you? Yun Luofeng did not deny it. He nodded and said, Yes, I did it. Gasp. Elder Rong could not help but gasp. He then smiled bitterly in exasperation. You little girl, you've certainly got guts. Elder Ning and I were not by your side yet. You had run off to the medical city alone. The city lord of the medical city is very powerful. What if you had fallen into the hands of the medical city? Chapter 620. The old man looked at Yun Luofeng worriedly and spoke in a reproachful tone. Yun Luofeng knew that the old man was worried about her, and she couldn't help but feel a surge of warmth in her heart. Her fingers gently stroked Milk Tea's little head, and the corners of her lips curved. Milk Tea is enough. Elder Rong shook his head in exasperation. What can this gold-seeking rat do? Can it protect you? You brought along a little girl and a gold-seeking rat to kill your way into the city lord's mansion. If it wasn't for the fact that that bastard Lin Gu wasn't in the medical city, perhaps you would have fallen into his hands. By that time, it was already too late for Elder Ning and I to rush over. Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips. I know what I'm doing. Elder Rong didn't say anything else when he heard Yun Luofeng's words. He said resentfully, Little girl, no matter what, you're not allowed to do this next time. Otherwise, us old fellows will have to be on tenterhooks with you every day. If you really want to act against the medicine city, you should at least let us know. Elder Rong. Yun Luofeng raised her head and her dark eyes were filled with seriousness. No matter what, you're still a member of the Doctors Association, so I don't want to drag the medicine city down with me. Elder Rong patted Yun Luofeng's shoulder and his eyes were filled with affection. Little girl Yun, don't forget that you saved the Medicine City Master's life. Without you, the Medicine City would no longer exist. Besides, I don't think that leaving the Doctors Association is a loss. Your achievements in the future will be greater than those of the Doctors Association. It must be said that Elder Rong was very clear about this. He would rather betray the Doctors Association to protect Yun Luofeng. This was because Yun Luofeng was too talented. How could the Doctors Association compare to her in the future? Perhaps the Doctors Association could only look up to her. When that time comes, based on the relationship between the Medicine City and Yun Luofeng, the boat would rise higher than the water. Thank you. Yun Luofeng's smile was filled with sincerity. Regardless of Elder Rong's motives, the fact that he was willing to fall out with the Doctors Association in order to protect her was enough to keep her in mind. Haha. Elder Rong laughed. Little girl Yun, you don't have to thank me. You just have to give me some pointers when you climb to the top of the mainland in the future. Elder Rong did not pretend to be polite to Yun Luofeng. Instead, he spoke his mind honestly. Because of her sincerity, Yun Luofeng trusted her without a doubt. Yun lass? Elder Rong seemed to have thought of something as the smile on his face slowly disappeared. Lin Go is also in this Doctors Association. I'm worried that he'll harm you. Hence, you'll have to follow the team from the medical pavilion. No matter what, he doesn't have the guts to make a move against the medical pavilion in the Doctors Association. There was a rule in the Doctors Association. As long as it was a faction that belonged to the association, they could only fight in the dark and not openly. If the people from the Doctors Association were to find out that the two factions were fighting, they would definitely be expelled from the association. Even if the medical city had the backing of Lin Yuting. Alright, Yun Luofeng did not reject Elder Rong's good intentions. Instead, he gladly accepted it. Haha! Elder Rong laughed heartily again. Let's go, little girl. We haven't seen each other for so long. We should catch up. In a luxurious room in the Doctors Association, Lin Gu was deep in thought with his eyes closed. Suddenly, he sensed a figure stopping in front of him. He slowly opened his eyes. Yiting? Lin Gu was startled and asked, What's the matter? Chapter 6:21. Father. Lin Yiting pursed her lips, a complicated look in her eyes. I have a presumptuous request. I hope that Father can help me. What? For some reason, seeing Lin Yiting's conflicted expression, Lin Gu gradually had a bad feeling in his heart. I hope that you can apologize to Yun Luofeng. These few words made Lin Gu fly into a rage instantly, and he jumped up from the bed in an instant. Yiting, what did you just say? You want me to apologize to that slut Yun Luofeng? Let me tell you, this is impossible. It's already good enough that I didn't take revenge on her. Don't expect me to apologize. He gritted his teeth in hatred, his eyes filled with viciousness. Lin Yuting frowned slightly. I have no other choice. I have already apologized on your behalf, but she is unwilling to accept it. Now, you can only go there yourself. I will let my master be the lobbyist. Maybe she will forgive you for the sake of the Doctors' Association. Yiting, you don't need to say anything more. Lin Gu snorted coldly. I've already promised you that I won't seek revenge on him, but it's impossible for me to apologize to that woman. Don't even think about it. Yun Qingya had hurt his son so deeply, and that woman, Yun Luofeng, had set fire to the city lord's mansion. With this kind of hatred, how could he apologize to her? Father. Lin Yiting's face darkened. This matter was originally my brother's fault. Back then, I had already asked Master to stand up to protect the medical city and force Yun Qingya to such an extent. I think that my revenge on him is enough. Why are you still holding on to it? You! Lin Gu was so angry that his entire body was trembling. Yiting, don't forget. Back then, you were alone and had no one to rely on. It was because I pitied you that I took you in. Now, is this how you repay me? Lin Yiting clenched her fists tightly. Father, I know that you have done me a great favor. All these years, I have indulged in all the actions of the medical city. I have helped you so much. Why aren't you willing to help me this once? If my master were to fall, would there still be a way for the medical city to survive in the future? She raised her head and stared at Lin Gu. She spoke in a sincere and heartfelt tone. Don't worry. Once I've subdued Yun Luofeng, I'll let you vent your anger. Lin Gu looked at Lin Yiting suspiciously. Can she really help me vent my anger? Of course it was fake. Her goal was to make Lin Gu follow her to apologize, so that Yun Luofeng would forgive the medical city for what they had done. However, she would not tell Lin Gu about this. I will definitely do what I say. Lin Yiting's eyes were filled with determination as she made a solemn vow. However, Lin Gu wasn't sure if his words were true or false. All right. Lin Gu took a deep breath. I agree to your condition this time, but you have to keep your word. After you subdue Yun Luofeng, give her to me for a few days. In these few days, I will make her beg for death. Lin Yiting glanced at the malevolent-looking Lin Gu and replied indifferently. You only need to remember, don't cripple her powers. I need to use her powers. I understand. Lin Ji's expression gradually improved. Yiting, let's go find that damned girl Yun Luofeng now. The humiliation I've suffered today, I will return it to her 1,000 times over. Lin Yiting's lips curled into a cold smile as she stared at the man whose eyes had been sealed off by hatred. Unfortunately, Lin Gu had completely forgotten the cold look on the woman's face. Chapter 622. In a quiet little courtyard, Yun Luofeng sat quietly in a pavilion. She gazed deeply at the sky not far away and an evil light flashed across her eyes. It's been a year. It's been a whole year. I wonder if Yun Xiao has already left the Xiao family's secret territory. If Yun Xiao has left, she will definitely come to the doctor's conference to find me. Thinking of this, her heart calmed down and a lazy and wanton smile appeared on her face. Yun Luofeng. Suddenly, a voice sounded out from nearby, and it disturbed her tranquil mood. She leaned against the pearl in the pavilion and used the back of her head as a pillow. She glanced lazily at the few people who were walking in from outside the courtyard. Among them, one of them was Lin Yiting, whom he had just met today. As for the other two, one was a sage-like old man, and the other was a handsome middle-aged man. Compared to the old man's indifference, a trace of hatred flashed across the middle-aged man's eyes and his gaze was also dark. Yun Luofeng did not need to think too much to guess the middle-aged man's identity. The city lord of the medical city, Lin Gu. He was also the main culprit who had caused her second uncle to be so miserable. Seeing the people who were walking over quickly, she raised the corners of her lips slightly. I don't seem to welcome you here. Lin Ji's expression changed instantly, but he remembered Lin Yiting's previous instructions and could only suppress his anger. He said coldly, I'm here to apologize to you. Apologize? Yun Luofeng's evil eyes swept across Lin Gu. If you want to apologize, kneel down first. The young girl's tone was domineering and arrogant. Her arrogant expression carried a condescending aura. It was obvious that she did not care about Lin Gu at all. Yun Luofeng, don't push your luck. Lin Gu clenched his fists in anger and his expression was ashen. Father? Lin Yuting frowned slightly and lowered her voice. What's a temporary sacrifice for the sake of the big picture? Yun Luofeng's talent is not bad. If I don't rope her in, she will very likely be roped in by other elders. At that time, not only will I lose a powerful person, but you will also not be able to mention revenge. Lin Ji's expression changed. He knew that what Lin Yuting said was the truth. If Yun Luofeng was roped in by another elder, then he could forget about taking revenge in the future. Thinking of this, he took a deep breath and knelt down on one knee. I was wrong before. I apologize. So you also know how to admit your mistakes. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. But you didn't even kowtow. What kind of apology is that? Lin Gu was so angry that he almost exploded. His face was flushed and his eyes were filled with anger. Making him kneel was already his bottom line. But this woman actually wanted him to kowtow to her? Dream on. Father. Lin Yuting couldn't help but call out. Do you want to waste all your previous efforts? All previous efforts for naught? These 4 words smashed into Lin Ji's heart. He clenched his fists and banged his head on the ground. Is this enough? After kowtowing once, Lin Gu stood up. At this moment, his expression was extremely ugly, and the anger in his eyes intensified. I've already apologized and kowtowed. Can you fulfill your promise and forgive me? Promise. Yun Luofeng smiled gently. I'm sorry. I don't think I made any promises, nor did I promise to forgive you. I only wanted you to kneel and kowtow. I didn't think that you would agree so obediently. Chapter 6:23. This time, not to mention Lin Gu, even Lin Yuting and Luo Fu, who were at the side, had ugly expressions on their faces. This woman was clearly playing with them. Little girl, Luo Fu's eyes slightly darkened. Your previous dispute has also caused great harm to the medical city. However, the medical city has let bygones be bygones and come to apologize to you. Why are you so unwilling to let go? The old man's words made Yun Luofeng laugh out loud. The medical city has been injured? I don't know what kind of injuries the medical city has suffered. Can they compare to my second uncle's 10 years of darkness? Can they compare to his 10 years of living a life worse than death? Luo Fu frowned, his tone gradually becoming impatient. The young city lord of the medical city has suffered a blow and has not been able to recover his spirit for so many years. Isn't this Yun Qingya's fault? However, the medical city has already let bygones be bygones and apologize to you. Why do you have to make things so difficult for us? This is not good for you either. On the stage, it was a fair duel. He was inferior to others and lost to my second uncle. For this, he did not hesitate to send experts from the medical city to take revenge. Yun Luofeng's face carried a demonic smile as his cold gaze gradually fell on the old man. If my second uncle was you, would you still think that it was my second uncle's fault? No wonder the medical city was so shameless. It seemed that the people from the Doctors' Association were no different from the medical city. They were equally shameless. Luo Fu's expression was somewhat ugly. Even if it's the medical city's fault, Lin Gu has already apologized to you. Can't you repay evil with kindness? Other than Luo Fu, many people had already said this to Yun Luofeng. Repay evil with kindness? Sorry. She had always known that if someone owed her a point, she would repay them 10 times. I am irreconcilable with the medical city. The young girl's words were arrogant and domineering as they slowly sounded in this quiet courtyard. Luo Fu's expression completely darkened. Just as he was about to reprimand her, Lin Yuting raised her hand and stopped him. She shook her head at Luo Fu, then turned her gaze to Yun Luofeng. I know you have a grudge in your heart. Then tell me, what should our medical city do to beg for your forgiveness? Yun Luofeng smiled evilly. If you want me to forgive your medical city, it's not impossible. Wait until the day your medical city is destroyed. I will forgive you. Luo Fu was so angry that he laughed. His gaze was no longer as calm as it was at the beginning, and instantly became cold. Yun Luofeng, you are the most savage little girl I have ever seen. Do you really think we have to suck up to you? I admit that your talent is not bad, and I do have the intention to rope you in. However, you're not the only genius in this world. When he spoke up to here, he paused for a moment and continued. Not to mention that a genius can only rule the world if he doesn't perish. So, I hope you don't die too quickly. Yiting, let's go. The old man's tone was clearly threatening. Before he left, he glanced back at Yun Luofeng, a sharp light in his eyes. Since this little girl was not willing to be used by him, then he would rather destroy her than let her join the ranks of the others. Yun Luofeng, my master has a bad temper. Don't take it to heart. Lin Yuting looked at Yun Luofeng and was silent for a while, then said, If you regret it, I welcome you to find me at any time. In Lin Yuting's heart, she still wanted to do everything she could to rope in Yun Luofeng. If there was really no way to make her submit, then she could only listen to her master's orders and kill her. Chapter 624. After Luo Fu left the courtyard, he returned to the study. Once he entered the room, he walked to a chair and angrily smoothed his robes before sitting down. That girl really doesn't know what's good for her. Master. Lin Yuting followed him in and smiled elegantly. Leave Yun Luofeng to me for now. I will think of a way to make her obey us. Luo Fu sighed. That girl is too stubborn. I'm afraid it won't be that easy to make her obey us. Give me some time. Let me try again. Lin Yuting narrowed her eyes and a murderous glint flashed across them. If it really doesn't work, I will personally take care of her. All right. Luo Fu's expression was cold and his gaze was cold. Yuting, that woman is full of tricks. You must not fall for her tricks. Also, I just received news that the Ghost Emperor is already on his way to the Doctors' Association. He will arrive in about 3 days. So you must be prepared. While the Ghost Emperor is at the association, do not let any woman get close to him. In the entire Doctors' Association, there were countless people who wanted to harm the Ghost Emperor. That was why Luo Fu had warned Lin Yuting. Lin Yuting nodded seriously. Her eyes were solemn as she said, I understand. Since you understand, you can go now. The meeting will begin tomorrow. During this time, you can give Yun Luofeng some trouble and let her understand the importance of having a backer. The moonlight was like water. Yun Luofeng was just about to sleep when she heard a knock on the door. She paused and asked, Who is it? Little Yun, it's me. Are you asleep? Elder Rong's aged voice slowly drifted into the room. Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows. Elder Rong, why are you looking for me so late at night? That's right. Little Yun, can I go in first? All right. Yun Luofeng thought for a moment before agreeing to Elder Rong's request. Creak. The door was pushed open, and Elder Rong, dressed in a gray robe, walked in. He sat down in Yun Luofeng's room without any trace of politeness, minding his own business and pouring himself a cup of tea. Little Yun, your tea is pretty good. Where did you get it from? Elder Rong had just taken a sip of the tea when his eyes suddenly lit up. He asked with a smile. These are the tea leaves I brought. If you want, I can give you some. Yun Luofeng straightened her dress and sat down in front of Elder Rong. Speak. Why have you come to find me now? Little Yun. I heard that Lin Yuting and Lin Gu came to look for you today. Elder Rong looked at Yun Luofeng doubtfully and asked. Yun Luofeng nodded lightly. There is also an old man. If I am not wrong, he should be Lin Yuting's master. Hearing the girl's words, Elder Rong's expression turned ugly. What are they doing here? Did I hurt you? The girl's slender fingers gently held the teacup, brought it to her lips, took a sip, and then slowly put it down. They came here to rope me in. Roping him in? Elder Rong was startled and frowned. If I'm not wrong, this should be Lin Yuting's idea. Compared to her father and brother, Lin Yuting is a smart person. She knows what's best for herself. She must have taken a fancy to your talent and wanted you to pledge allegiance to her. Unfortunately, you rejected her. He did not need to think too much to know that Yun Luofeng must have rejected these people. However, little Yun, Lin Yuting will definitely not let this go. She will think of other ways to rope you in. Furthermore, I've come to find you for another matter. Chapter 625. Elder Rong's expression was solemn. Every time the Doctors Association meets, they would send out invitations to young doctors who have yet to join the association. This was also the reason why I was able to receive your invitation so easily. Before the start of each conference, these young doctors would go through a trial. Those who pass the trial will be recruited by the various factions of the Doctors Association. Elder Rong paused for a moment before he continued. Hence, before the meeting begins, the elders of the Doctors Association will try to recruit the young disciples. Hence, I'm guessing that other than Elder Luofu, there will be other elders who will come to see you. Yun Luofeng gently tapped her finger on the table as a demonic light flashed across her pitch-black eyes. The corners of her lips were curled into a cold smile. I'm not here to participate in the doctor's conference. I'm only here to deal with the Medicine City. If the Medicine City had not gone to the doctor's conference, she would never have come here. Elder Rong shook his head and smiled bitterly. Yun girl, you've already received the Medicine City's invitation. It would be inappropriate for you to not participate in the conference. Besides, I've heard that the prize for this conference is an extremely valuable treasure. What treasure? The Dragon Crystal Sword. The Dragon Crystal Sword may not be a divine weapon, but it was much more powerful than most weapons. No wonder Elder Rong had wanted to trick Yun Luofeng into participating in this competition. However, when she heard that the prize for the competition was the Dragon Crystal Sword, a light flashed across Yun Luofeng's eyes. All right, I'll participate in this conference. Of course, what she needed was not the Dragon Crystal Sword. It was the Dragon Crystal on the sword. It was an essential item for refining puppets. Haha. After getting the answer he wanted, Boss Rong laughed and stood up. Little Yun, if that's the case, then you should prepare well and participate in the trials tomorrow. I won't disturb you now. Goodbye. After saying his piece, Elder Rong turned around and left with a smile. At this moment, the old man was clearly in a good mood. His elderly face was full of smiles. Just as Elder Rong had left, a gentle breeze blew into the room. A sharp light flashed across Yun Luofeng's eyes. She turned towards the window and shouted in a stern voice. Who is it? Show yourself. Mistress, it's me. A familiar voice came from outside the window. Then Qin Yuan, dressed in a long gray robe, jumped in and landed in front of Yun Luofeng. Qin Yuan? Yun Luofeng's eyes were filled with confusion. Why are you here? Qin Yuan glanced at Yun Luofeng and respectfully replied, Mistress, my master knows that you will definitely attend the doctor's conference, so he sent me to inform Mistress that he is on his way here. Due to a sudden situation, I need to delay for a few days. Yun Xiao was coming? This news caused Yun Luofeng to rejoice in his heart. His pitch-black eyes were filled with joy. I got it. I will wait for him here. After being separated for a year, she was finally going to see that callous man again. Her heart involuntarily trembled. By the way, Qin Yuan, how has General Yun's residence been lately? Are there any blind precursors causing trouble? Qin Yuan shook his head. While you've been away, Mistress, Elder Ning has been keeping watch over General Yun's residence. For the time being, no one would dare to have any ill intentions towards General Yun's residence. Don't worry, Mistress. Besides, his master has already emerged from closed-door cultivation. How could he allow anyone to harm General Yun's residence? Wasn't that the same as digging their own grave? Chapter 626. Yun Luofeng pondered for a moment, then continued to ask, Is there news of my second uncle? This? Qin Yuan scratched his head. Sir Qingya hasn't returned to the general's residence. I don't know where he went either. Yun Luofeng's heart trembled slightly, and his tightly furrowed brows carried a hint of worry. Second uncle hasn't returned to the general's residence for the past year. Where could he have gone? Could it be that something happened to him? Mistress, don't worry. Qin Yuan seemed to feel Yun Luofeng's worry and hurriedly comforted her. Sir Qingya will be fine. He probably went somewhere to train and will be back soon. I hope so. Yun Luofeng's lightly furrowed brows relaxed. After the conference, if second uncle still doesn't show up, then I'll go to the forest of no return to find him. The doctor's conference was held in the plaza. When the morning sun rose, The entire plaza was filled with people. Everyone sat down orderly according to their seats and waited quietly where they were. Not long after, Lin Yiting, who was wearing a yellow dress, walked in with a group of association disciples. Her steps were light, noble, and elegant, and she had the bearing of a noble. Lin Yiting's gaze swept across the crowd. The moment she saw Yun Luofeng, she paused for a moment, then quickly looked away. Everyone, this time's conference will be hosted by me. I will definitely give you a fair and just trial. I will not practice favoritism. Lin Yiting's brows were firm. Now, I will first explain the rules of the trial. Because this time's trial is hosted by the Doctors Association, it will definitely be related to medical skills. I will arrange some patients for you, and you must cure them within the allotted time. Otherwise, you will fail the trial. Do you understand? Hearing Lin Yiting's words, the group of young doctors below the stage let out excited voices. Understood. All right, I will let the patients come forward later. Lin Yiting looked at Yun Luofeng again, and a light flashed in her beautiful eyes. Yun Luofeng, in order to rope you in, I can only do something during your competition. Otherwise, if you successfully defeat other opponents, you will definitely be fought over by the other elders in the association. Because of this, I can only make you fail the competition. Lin Yiting took a deep breath. As long as she could make the other elders give up on the idea of fighting over Yun Luofeng. So what if he resorted to all means? Soon, a group of patients was carried into the square and sent to the various doctors. Yun Luofeng stared at the wailing young man in front of him. He narrowed his eyes slightly and an evil light flashed across them. He said coldly, "He is not sick." In this quiet square, the young girl's words were very clear and fell into everyone's ears. What nonsense are you talking about? The young man's expression changed, and he roared angrily, I'm in so much pain here. How dare you say I'm not sick? Are you a doctor or not? His medical skills had reached such a level. You didn't even take my pulse. Yet you directly concluded that I'm not sick. Yun Luofeng glanced at him evilly. I want to ask you, why are you pretending to be sick when you are not sick? Pretending to be sick? In the audience seats, Elder Rong was stunned. His astonished gaze swept over Yun Luofeng and then turned to Lin Yiting, who was on the high platform. His eyes were filled with shock. He had never imagined that Lin Yiting would do such a thing. As long as this young man claimed that there was definitely something wrong with his body, then she could use this to announce that Yun Luofeng's medical skills were terrible. Because of this, many elders who wanted to rope in Yun Luofeng would withdraw. Chapter 6:27. Lin Yiting frowned slightly and turned to look at Yun Luofeng. She then said, The Doctors Association has gone through a strict selection process to select these patients. It can't be wrong. There must be something wrong with his body. Miss Yun, you should take his pulse first. There's no need. Yun Luofeng shook her head. She still said the same thing. There's nothing wrong with his body. The young man on the stretcher seemed to be rolling on the ground in pain. His forehead was covered in cold sweat and his face looked very weak. Do you think that I'm pretending to be sick? The young man gritted his teeth and said angrily, A quack is a quack. Because you can't cure my illness, you say that I'm pretending to be sick. What right does a person like you have to participate in the doctor's conference? On the high platform, Lin Yiting watched the farce below her expressionlessly. Her beautiful eyes flickered and the corners of her lips unconsciously curled into an arc very quickly. It disappeared. Yun Luofeng was indeed quite capable. She could actually tell that this young man was pretending to be sick. Even Elder Zhang from the Doctors Association might not be able to tell the young man's physical condition. This was because she had used some tricks to make this young man look like he was seriously ill. It was as if she had used a smokescreen. Other than herself, no one else would think that he was pretending to be sick. Cough, cough. The sound of a dry cough rang out from the high platform. Then, the old man who had been standing beside Lin Yiting since the beginning slowly walked down. His footsteps were illusory and he arrived in front of Yun Luofeng in just a few steps. One of you says that he's pretending to be sick, but the other says that he's not. So, Let me determine if this person is really pretending to be sick. The old man stroked his beard and glanced at Lin Yuting on the high platform. If someone is using their power to avenge a personal grudge and falsifying information during the conference, I will certainly report this to the president. No matter how biased the Doctors Association had been towards the medical city, falsifying information during the doctors' conference was absolutely not allowed. Otherwise, it would be tarnishing the sacred Doctors Association. Then, the old man lowered his body and gently placed his finger on the young man's pulse. He frowned and pondered for a long time before he stood up. This young man's pulse is beating very quickly and the pain in his body is not fake. It's just strange that even with my medical skills, I can't determine his illness. Can only prove that his body is indeed sick. This old man was quite honest. He clearly stated that even he could not diagnose the young man's illness. He wasn't afraid of losing face in public. Elder Rong was stunned. His eyes were filled with astonishment. Elder Lan Hong could be considered a fresh stream in the Doctors Association. It was impossible for him to lie, nor would he side with Lin Yuting. Even he said that the young man was not pretending to be sick. Could it be? No. Yun Luofeng's strength was there. Since she said that the young man was pretending to be sick, then there must be a reason. Elder Rong still had great trust in Yun Luofeng. Thinking of this, Elder Rong calmed his restless emotions and stared deeply at the two people in the square. TSK, I really don't know where this woman stole her invitation card from. How dare she attend the conference with such medical skills? In the plaza, the geniuses who were also invited to participate could not help but mock him. They looked at Yun Luofeng with disdain. I think she knows that she can't cure the patient, so she said that the patient is pretending to be sick. Even Elder Lan Hong said that there is indeed a problem with the other party's body. This proves that he isn't faking it. Chapter 628. As if she did not hear the mocking voices, Yun Luofeng slowly walked in front of the young man and looked down at him condescendingly. Do you know the consequences of pretending to be sick in front of me? The young man's expression changed abruptly and a dark look flashed across his eyes. Elder Lan Hong has already diagnosed my body and proved that I have an illness. Even at this point in time, you still insist that I'm pretending to be ill? Everyone else whispered to each other and looked at Yun Luofeng with even more mockery. This woman is really shameless. Could it be that the Doctors Association knows how to fake things? She is clearly not capable enough. She is trying to shirk responsibility. Elder Rong's expression was a little anxious and he kept signaling Yun Luofeng with his eyes. Then, he stood up and was about to speak up for her. But at that moment, the young girl suddenly moved, bang! The young girl grabbed the young man's arm tightly and flung him to the ground. Then, she stepped on him and raised her eyebrows insolently. What do you want? The young man roared angrily and struggled to get up. He glared angrily at Yun Luofeng. Everyone was stunned. No one had expected that Yun Luofeng would directly attack an injured patient in the Doctors Association. He had no scruples at all. Lin Yuting frowned slightly and gave the man next to her a look. The man understood Lin Yuting's meaning and quickly stood up. His eyes were as sharp as a sword. Yun Luofeng, how dare you? You hurt someone even though you are useless. How arrogant. How can an immoral person like you be worthy of the word doctor? Also, who gave someone like you an invitation and actually allowed you to come in for a trial? Yun Luofeng glanced at the man. Her eyes were filled with arrogance and unruliness. It was as if this man was merely a clown to her, and she could not even be bothered to say a word to him. Choping. At this moment, Lin Yuting stood up and said pretentiously, Yun Luofeng's invitation was given by someone from the medical pavilion, but it was also with my permission. After all, based on her performance outside, she is indeed qualified to participate in the doctor's conference. Senior Sister Yuting, those are just some rumors from the outside world. Rumors can't be trusted at all. Maybe those people took her money so they helped her to brag. I don't think this woman is that good. Qiu Ping's lips curled into a sarcastic smile as he narrowed his eyes at Yun Luofeng. Moreover, Senior Sister Yuting, have you forgotten how she treated you previously? You kindly brought the city lord of the medical city to apologize to her. But not only did she reject your apology, she even insulted you. Why are you still speaking up for such a person? Qiu Ping sneered and stared coldly at Yun Luofeng. He and Lin Yuting had done this kind of thing many times. All these years, he had always spoken on behalf of Lin Yuting, and only then did Lin Yuting come out to be a good person. But no matter what he did for Lin Yuting, he did it willingly. Lin Yuting shook her head. I've told you before that you must repay evil with good. Why don't you understand? Furthermore, the medical city was in the wrong for what happened all those years ago. It's only right for them to apologize. Most importantly, I believe that Yun Luofeng is a talent that can be molded. Even if she failed the trial, I still intend to take her in. Chapter 629. Senior sister, don't speak up for this Yun Luofeng. What moldable talent. She's clearly a piece of trash. You only feel that the medical city has harmed Yun Qingya, so you feel guilty. That's why you want to give Yun Luofeng a chance, but he doesn't appreciate it. Shut up. Lin Yuting's face turned cold. Qiu Ping, you have to remember. No one in this world is trash. Even if Yun Luofeng's medical skills are really not good, I still have the confidence to nurture her. Yun Luofeng crossed his arms over his chest, and the corner of his lips curled up into a sinister smile. He narrowed his eyes as he watched the two of them echo each other. No one else noticed, but she clearly saw that at the very beginning, Lin Yuting had given that man a meaningful glance. It was obvious that Lin Yuting had taught him to say these words. After Lin Yuting finished speaking, she turned to Yun Luofeng and said with a graceful smile, Miss Yun, don't worry. Regardless of whether you succeed or fail this time, I will leave you a way out. Treat it as compensation to your Yun family. The meaning behind her words was that she had set her eyes on Yun Luofeng not because he had strength, but because she wanted to compensate the Yun family. In this way, it indirectly proved that Yun Luofeng's strength was lacking. It also caused some of the elders who wanted to subdue her to retreat. In order to prevent her from joining the other elders' factions, Lin Yuting was truly unscrupulous. Unfortunately, things that were useful to others might not be effective to Yun Luofeng. If you really want to compensate me, then kill Lin Gu and his son. She raised the corner of her lips, her eyes insolent. As long as the medical city is not destroyed, I will not rest for a day. If it was anyone else, they would definitely be angry after hearing Yun Luofeng's words. However, Lin Yuting still had an elegant and appropriate smile on her face as she said in a friendly manner, I know you are angry in your heart. It doesn't matter. I can wait for you. As long as you are loyal to me, I can hand over all my medical skills to you. Just treat it as compensation to you. The crowd was in an uproar. The doctors who were participating in the trial all forgot about the treatment at hand. Other than resentment, there was also envy in their eyes as they looked at Yun Luofeng. They hated Yun Luofeng for not knowing how to appreciate favors, but they also envied her for not needing to pass the trial to join the Doctors' Association. Why didn't they get such a good opportunity? Yun Luofeng's foot was still stepping on the young patient's body, making it hard for him to breathe. His eyes were bulging and bloodshot. You also want to guide my medical skills? She glanced at Lin Yuting with her evil eyes and smiled coldly. But, since you know so much about me, don't you know what happened to the last person who said he wanted to guide me? 2 years ago, on the big ship on the Qin River, Mu Wushuang claimed in front of everyone that he would guide her. However, in the end, he was severely slapped in the face in public. This matter was known to the entire Long Yuan country. Lin Yuting had already gathered information about Yun Luofeng. How could she not know about this matter? Therefore, her expression was slightly ugly. She forced a smile and said, I'm just being kind. No matter how good Yun Luofeng's medical skills were, under the current circumstances, it was impossible for him to make a comeback. Yun Luofeng, seeing that Lin Yuting was being bullied by her, Qiu Ping flipped out on the spot. You don't know what's good for you. Sister Yuting is always thinking about you. But you humiliate her like this. Also, immediately release the person under your foot. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. At first, Everyone's eyes were attracted by the fight between Yun Luofeng and Lin Yuting. They all forgot about the person under her foot. Chapter 630. I'm sorry, I forgot about him. Yun Luofeng moved her foot away. She grabbed the young man's clothes and pulled him up from the ground. There was a trace of evil in the smile on her lips. I'll give you one more chance. Who made you pretend to be sick? The young man's expression changed and he roared angrily. I told you. I'm not pretending to be sick. Is that so? Yun Luofeng raised the corner of her lips and threw the young man in front of Lan Hong. Check his pulse again. Lan Hong was a little shocked, but he still crouched down and placed his finger on the young man's pulse. This time he was completely dumbfounded. He said in a daze, That's impossible. I just felt that his pulse was abnormal. Why is it so normal now? Based on his current pulse, he's very healthy. That's impossible. The young man's eyes were filled with fear. He said angrily, There's definitely something wrong with my body. You're all talking nonsense. As he said this, his body started to tremble. If he didn't complete Xiao Ping's task this time, his wife would be in danger. But he clearly didn't understand what had happened. Why had his pulse suddenly returned to normal? Before he came, Xiao Ping had given him a bowl of medicinal soup. It was that soup that had messed up his pulse and caused him so much pain. But just as he was about to succeed, something like this happened at the most crucial moment. Suddenly, the young man seemed to remember something. He hurriedly turned to Yun Luofeng, his eyes filled with fear. It's this woman. It must be her doing. Just now, when this woman had stepped on him, he had clearly felt a trace of spiritual energy enter his body. The spiritual power must have interfered, causing the bowl of medicinal soup in his body to lose its effect. Lin Yuting frowned and looked at Xiao Ping next to her. A sharp light flashed across her beautiful eyes. Meeting the light in her eyes, Xiao Ping's heart instantly tensed up. He no longer cared about Lan Hong's position in the Doctors' Association and hurriedly said, Elder Lan Hong, all the patients who come here have been strictly screened. How could there be a mistake? You must have sensed it wrong. He can't be a healthy person. Lan Hong looked impatient. He glared at Xiao Ping and said, So you think my medical skills are bad? I can't even tell if he's healthy or not. The crowd instantly returned to silence. Regardless of whether it was the disciples of the Doctors' Association or the people who came to participate in the conference, all of them maintained a state of silence. It was as if this unforeseen event had caught everyone off guard. Elder Lan Hong. Elder Rong's heart finally calmed down. He stood up from his seat and chuckled. Why don't we invite the other elders to diagnose him as well? Moreover, it would also convince some people. All right. Lan Hong nodded and said indifferently, Someone go and invite all the elders of the Doctors' Association. Tell them that there is a matter for them to decide. Yes. Hearing this, a disciple immediately walked down. Not long after, the figures of the elders of the Doctors' Association appeared in front of everyone's eyes. After hearing Lan Hong's words, the elders all stepped forward to diagnose the young man. Even Lin Yuting's master Luo Fu was among them. Very quickly, the results were out. Lin Yuting quickly looked at Luo Fu anxiously. When she saw him shaking his head at her heart skipped a beat. Chapter 631. Lin Yuting bit her lips. The medicine that she had asked Xiao Ping to give to this young man would not be wrong. Moreover, Lan Hong had indeed determined that his body had an illness before. But why did it change so quickly? What on earth had happened in the midst of all this? Luo Fu had a complicated expression on his face. He was the one who had instructed Lin Yuting to do this. That was why he wanted to fabricate a false conclusion. However, he knew that with so many elders as witnesses, he could not fabricate a false conclusion. He sighed helplessly. He really is not ill. A person who was not ill was participating in the test. There was probably no one in the world who didn't know what this represented. That was why the entire plaza was in an uproar. This young man is not ill. Why did he fabricate a false diagnosis? He even caused us to misunderstand this lady. Do you think that there are people who are not ill among the people we are going to treat? Looks like the Doctors Association is not completely trustworthy. What if we can't diagnose the patient's illness? Does that mean that we have failed as well? Hearing the discussions, the elders' expressions turned ugly. Some of the more hot-tempered ones even flew into a rage. Luo Fu, this meeting was hosted by your disciple. How could something like this happen? You have to give us an explanation. That's right. We have to give everyone an explanation so that the Doctors Association's reputation isn't tarnished. Luo Fu's expression darkened. He turned to Qiu Ping and asked, Qiu Ping, what did you do? I asked you to assist Yu Ting, and you made such an unforgivable mistake. Qiu Ping was stunned. He looked at Luo Fu's sharp gaze and sighed in his heart. He knew that Elder Luo Fu wanted to sacrifice himself to protect Lin Yuting. However, he was the one behind this. Lin Yuting had only given him a few instructions. Master, I know I was wrong. Qiu Ping knelt on the ground with a thud. When he looked down, a cold glint flashed across his eyes. This has nothing to do with senior sister Yuting. I really don't like Yun Luofeng. That's why I wanted to kick her out. He raised his head and glared at Yun Luofeng furiously. Senior sister Yuting was so polite to her, but she didn't know what was good for her. Furthermore, I overheard that she was planning to frame senior sister Yuting. Luo Fu looked at Qiu Ping in shock. She framed Yuting? Why? Why? Qiu Ping was startled. He had only said it casually. He hadn't thought of a reason yet. Because... He clenched his fists tightly, and a thought flashed through his mind. Because she heard that the Ghost Emperor was invited to the Doctors' Conference this time. Furthermore, the Doctors' Association planned to invite the Ghost Emperor to be the referee. At that time, the Ghost Emperor, as the judge, would have to interact with senior sister Yuting. She had wanted to hurt senior sister Yuting out of jealousy. Master, I just want to strike first and gain the upper hand. Hearing Qiu Ping's angry words, some people who didn't know what was going on took him seriously. Qiu Ping, what did you just say? Lin Yuting frowned. Did you really hear me? Yun Luofeng wants to hurt me because of this? Based on Lin Yuting's understanding of Qiu Ping, she knew that he was making things up, but that didn't stop her from adding fuel to the fire, because she understood that after today's events, it was impossible for Yun Luofeng to submit to her. Chapter 632. So what if they shed all pretense of cordiality? Since she refused to submit, she could only die. Senior sister Yuting. I heard this with my own ears. It's not false, Qiu Ping vowed. Yun Luofeng has long been in love with the Ghost Emperor. She came here to see the Ghost Emperor. The Ghost Emperor would never spare a second glance at a shameless woman like her. That's why she was jealous that senior sister Yuting had the chance to interact with the Ghost Emperor. She wanted to frame her. Qiu Ping spoke as if he was telling the truth, and everyone believed his words. This woman looks like a decent person, but she's actually this kind of person. She would do anything to get a man. TSK, you really can't judge a book by its cover. Unfortunately, I heard that the Ghost Emperor has no interest in women, so she's destined to have a pipe dream. Yun Luofeng did not seem to notice the crowd's mockery. She narrowed her eyes and looked at Qiu Ping. What else do you have to say? Why don't you tell me everything? Qiu Ping was stunned. He could not understand how this girl could remain so calm in the face of his false accusations. Did she not want to defend herself? Qiu Ping gritted his teeth and said, Furthermore, I can prove that Yun Luofeng's medical skills aren't very good. Yesterday, when I was ordering Ling Yin to pretend to be sick, I accidentally saw her disciple. It must have been her little disciple who eavesdropped on our conversation. Yesterday, Lin Ruobai had indeed been playing with milk tea nearby and had disturbed Qiu Ping, who had been hiding in his room discussing something. Lin Ruobai had not heard their conversation, but that did not stop Qiu Ping from framing them. Elder Rong scoffed and asked sarcastically, Then how do you explain how Yun Luofeng managed to break through your cover with just a few tricks? Hee. Qiu Ping's lips curled into a mocking smile. Elder Rong, if you want to know, I can give you an explanation. I was indeed careless in this matter. I gave Ling Yin the medicine too early, and it caused the medicine to lose its effect. Do you really think it was because of Yun Luofeng? When Lingya heard Xiao Ping's words, she opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something. However, when she saw Xiao Ping's cold gaze, the words stuck in her throat. She couldn't say them, nor could she swallow them. It's easy to prove my medical skills. Yun Luofeng glanced at Xiao Ping, paused and said, I can heal all the patients here in half an incense stick's time. As soon as the young girl's voice fell, it caused a burst of laughter. Recover all the patients in half an incense stick's time? Was this a joke? With so many people in the square, it would take more than half an incense stick to burn just to diagnose the illness. She still dared to boast? Yun Luofeng? Lin Yuting raised her eyebrows and said in a neutral tone, You should take back your words. Otherwise, you will definitely regret it. I'm doing this for your own good. I can't bear to see you lose face in public. Yun Luofeng acted as if he didn't hear Lin Yuting's warning and didn't answer her question. If I can cure all the patients in half an incense stick's time, then the dragon crystal sword as the prize for the doctor's assembly will be given to me. In addition, I want the medical city to disappear from this day forth. I want the medical city to disappear. How domineering did she have to be for her to say such words at this moment? Perhaps, in the entire roaring dragon continent, no one would dare to say that the medical city would disappear. Chapter 633. Lin Yuting's expression finally showed a trace of change. The elegance on her face could not be maintained. Her beautiful eyes coldly stared at the young girl in the plaza, and a trace of coldness flashed through her eyes. Yun Luofeng, I agree to your conditions. No matter how strong her medical skills were, it was impossible for her to save so many people in half an incense's time. Moreover, so what if she succeeded? At that time, if the Doctors' Association refused to admit it, there was nothing she could do. After all, the Doctors' Association would not let the medical city disappear just like that. Elder Rong, do me a favor. Yun Luofeng turned to look at Elder Rong and said slowly, What is it? Elder Rong smiled and asked, I'll write you a few prescriptions later. You have to decoct them for me according to the prescriptions. You have to succeed in half an incense's time. All right, little girl Yun, don't worry. I will do as you say. Elder Rong's expression became slightly serious. He knew that this matter was of great importance, and Yun Luofeng had entrusted such an important matter to him. What kind of trust was this? He would never let him down. I'm afraid your medical pavilion doesn't have enough manpower. Elder Lan Hong, who had been silent all this while, continued to speak. I'll have my disciples help you. If it was any other elder who said this, Elder Rong would definitely refuse. Who knew what kind of poison those people would put in the medicine? However, Lan Hong was different. He was the only clear stream in the Doctors' Association. Back then, when the experts of the medical city chased after Yun Qingya and the Doctors' Association stood up to protect the medical city, he was the only one who raised an objection. It was precisely because of this that he was not welcomed in the medical city. Not long after, a disciple of the association took out an incense burner and lit an incense stick in it. A light breeze blew, and the incense emitted an intoxicating smell. You can begin. Lin Yuting flicked her sleeves and sat down. Her cold gaze fell on Yun Luofeng's body, and the corner of her lips curled up into a smile. In the Doctors' Association, anyone who fought with her could only lose. Yun Luofeng didn't say anything. She took out a pack of silver needles from her sleeve. After sterilizing them with fire, the silver needles landed on a patient's body with a schwa sound. She didn't even feel the pulse and directly inserted the needle? This is simply looking down on life. She didn't even know what illness the patient had before she started treating him. Looks like Choping was right. She really doesn't have any strength. Everyone was shocked by Yun Luofeng's actions. Even the elders of the Doctors' Association were frowning. From their point of view, Yun Luofeng's actions were completely disregarding the patient's life. As a fellow physician, how could she allow herself to be so careless? After Yun Luofeng tested the needle on one person with extreme speed, she quickly flashed in front of another person. Her speed was too fast, so fast that the naked eye couldn't catch her. In less than half an incense stick's time, She had finished performing acupuncture on everyone. Following that, the medical pavilion and Lan Hong's subordinates walked over with bowls of medicinal soup. Yun Luofeng only needed to sniff the side of the bowl to determine which prescription had been used to brew the medicine. He immediately ordered someone from the medical pavilion to bring it to the patient. As long as you drink the medicinal soup that I specially concocted, everyone's illness will recover. Just as Yun Luofeng finished speaking, the patients drank the medicine. The instant the soup entered their stomachs, they felt the pain in their bodies gradually lessen. Chapter 634. Let me take a look at their conditions. Lan Hong quickly walked in front of the patients and placed his fingers on their pulses. After sensing the changes in the patients' bodies, he was slightly stunned. When the other elders saw this, they also went forward to diagnose the patient. How is this possible? How is this possible? Luo Fu was also stunned by his own diagnosis. He took 2 steps back and his expression suddenly changed. This is impossible. Where are the other patients? Let me take a look at the other patients' conditions. Thinking of this, Luo Fu hurriedly squeezed the elder next to him and took his place. At first, Luo Fu was only shocked. In the end, his shock turned into despair. Before the start of the conference, he had already seen these patients, so he was very clear about their condition. But now, he could clearly feel that these people's conditions were gradually recovering. This young girl really saved all the patients in half an hour? She had not even taken their pulses, and she had already diagnosed their conditions? Luo Fu's face was pale. He staggered a few times and almost fell to the ground. His eyes were filled with despair as he looked at Lin Yuting on the high platform. A bitter smile appeared on his lips. This time, Yuting had really been too careless. But no one would have thought that this young girl's medical skills would be this high. Even the president could not compare to her. A miracle. This is a miracle. Lan Hong's eyes shone as he looked at Yun Luofeng. Girl, are you interested in joining my faction? Yun Luofeng shook her head. I don't plan on joining the Doctors' Association. I see. Lan Hong felt that it was a pity, but he did not say anything else. He smiled and said, if you want to join the Doctors' Association in the future, just tell me. I will definitely welcome you. Lin Yuting had said the same thing to her before, but it gave off a completely different feeling. Lin Yuting gave her the feeling that she was giving alms. Elder Lan Hong, on the other hand, had a sincere heart that loved talent. Yun Luofeng smiled and did not reply to Lan Hong. Her gaze turned to Lin Yuting and she raised an eyebrow. She asked, I won. Can I fulfill my promise? Lin Yuting took a deep breath and suppressed the unwillingness and jealousy that almost surged out of her heart. She said coldly, I can give you the dragon crystal sword. What about the medical city? Yun Luofeng asked with a faint smile. I'm sorry, I can't make the decision for the medical city. In other words, she would never hand over the medicine city. Yun Luofeng, don't push your luck. When Qiu Ping saw that Lin Yuting was being bullied, he immediately jumped up. Medical City is a subordinate force of our Doctors' Association. If we were to hand the Medical City over to you, then where would our Doctors' Association put its face? You'd better stop while you're ahead, lest you get yourself into trouble. Boom! Just as Qiu Ping finished speaking, the girl on the square suddenly raised her hand. In that instant, a powerful aura shot out from her sleeves. With a loud bang, Qiu Ping's body fell from the high platform. You talk too much nonsense. The girl raised her head and looked at Qiu Ping. She was arrogant. Yun Luofeng. Lin Yuting's face instantly turned cold. I've tolerated you time and time again, but I didn't expect you to be so rude. How dare you openly injure someone in my Doctors' Association? You're simply looking down on our association. Yun Luofeng turned his head and looked at Lin Yuting evilly. Doctors' Association? Isn't it just a place that doesn't fulfill its promise? Whether you agree or not, the medical city will be destroyed. Chapter 635. Lin Yuting laughed coldly. If you really have the ability, I don't mind you making a move. Unfortunately, what ability do you have to deal with the medical city? Let me give you a piece of advice. You'd better take care of the General Yun residence first. Otherwise, when you return to the family, all that awaits you is a pile of corpses. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes and looked at Lin Yuting coldly. What do you mean by that? Yun Luofeng, you've offended too many people. The others will not tolerate you like I do. They might have already rushed to Long Yuan country to deal with your family. Boom! The young girl's aura surged out, and her eyes grew colder. Lin Yuting, if a single hair of the Yun family is harmed, I will make your life a living hell. Yun Luofeng, I'm just giving you a warning. After all, I will not do anything to your family. Lin Yuting laughed coldly. But whether the others will do the same, I don't know. Yun laughs. Seeing that Yun Luofeng was on the verge of exploding in anger, Elder Rong hurried forward and held her shoulders. Don't worry, with Elder Ning here, nothing will happen to the Yun family. Furthermore, our medical pavilion lord is currently in Long Yuan country. He is also very strong, and the people Lin Yuting sent will not be able to harm them. Even so, Yun Luofeng would not allow anyone to have any designs on her family. Even if these people could not harm the Yun family. Elder Rong, do me a favor, Yun Luofeng said slowly. Send people to find my second uncle's whereabouts. Second uncle went to the forest of no return to cultivate for the sake of seeking revenge on the medical city. I do not wish to take away his chance. There was nothing more satisfying than killing one's enemy with one's own hands. This was also the reason why Yun Luofeng did not make a move on the medical city when he first arrived at the Doctors' Association. If second uncle did not personally witness the deaths of his enemies, how would he be able to heal the scars that had plagued his heart for so many years? All right, Elder Rong did not think too much before agreeing. I will send everyone in the medical pavilion to search for Lin Qingya. Once I have news of him, I will inform you immediately. Although I will let second uncle personally witness the destruction of the medical city, this does not mean that I will not collect some interest. Yun Luofeng's lips curled up as he narrowed his eyes at Lin Yuting. Yun Luofeng, you want to fight me? Lin Yuting frowned. You better think this through. I'm not Qiu Ping. You won't be able to sneak attack me. Who said I was going to ambush you? Yun Luofeng sneered. Her body flashed and she quickly rushed towards Lin Yuting. At this moment, she no longer concealed her aura and it instantly erupted. Heavenly spiritualist? After Luo Fu sensed the girl's strength, he turned pale with fright. She's actually a celestial spirit practitioner? Not good. Yuting is in danger. At this moment, Luo Fu couldn't care less about his reputation. He quickly moved in front of Lin Yuting and extended his hand to block Yun Luofeng's attack. Boom! A powerful force landed on Yun Luofeng's palm. Immediately, her body moved back a few steps, and a deep mark appeared on the ground. How shameless! Elder Rong looked at Luo Fu with disdain. An old man over 100 years old has the nerve to fight a teenage girl. Luo Fu swept a cold glance at Elder Rong before turning back to Yun Luofeng. Killing intent surged out from his body. Yun Luofeng, to think that you'd be able to break through to the heavenly spiritualist realm at such a young age. Whether it's talent or medical skills, I admire you greatly. If you're willing to become my disciple, I can forgive you. Otherwise, I can only kill you for the crime of violating the association's rules. Chapter 636. Lan Hong could not stand it any longer and stepped forward. He frowned and said, Luo Fu, how could you threaten a young lady? Besides, if Lin Yuting had not used her family's lives to threaten her, she would not have been so angry. I think we should just forget about it this time. What do you think? Threaten? Luo Fu laughed icily. When has Yu Ting ever threatened her? She's clearly reminding her not to be too savage in case she offends someone she shouldn't offend and brings disaster to her family. Yu Ting clearly meant well, but she doesn't appreciate it. Lan Hong shook his head in exasperation. But isn't what you're saying to Lady Yun a threat? Why do you insist on making her your disciple? Lan Hong, you'd better mind your own business. Luo Fu furrowed his brows. If she doesn't want to be my disciple, I'll have no choice but to kill her. After all, she's provoked the Doctors' Association. If she's a member of the association, she can be forgiven. Otherwise, she'll die. Lan Hong smiled slightly. Based on Lady Yun's talent, she doesn't need to be your disciple. Besides, you're not the only elder in the Doctors' Association. She doesn't have to be your disciple. Lan Hong's words seemed to have worked and caused the elders to regain their senses. They hurriedly rushed towards Yun Luofeng. Lady Yun, that fellow Luofu isn't a good person. You must not become his disciple. Come to my sect and I'll protect you. That old thing Luofu won't dare to do anything to you. Why should I let Lady Yun go to your sect? I think that my sect is the most suitable for Lady Yun. As long as you follow me, not only will I protect Lady Yun, I will also protect her family. Lady Yun, I'm deeply sorry about what happened to your second uncle that year. As long as you join my side, I will definitely seek justice for your second uncle. On this mainland, the strong were revered. That was why everyone was so realistic. If Yun Luofeng was a good-for-nothing, they would not even have the time to help Luofu. Why would they say such things? The reason for these people's actions was because of Yun Luofeng's extraordinary medical skills, as well as his shocking talent. Luofu looked at the traitors and his elderly features changed drastically. He shouted sternly, "What are you doing? Yun Luofeng is causing trouble at the Doctors' Association, and you guys are still fighting over her? Luofu, stop it. Don't think that we don't know that you want to take Lady Yun for yourself. You've done so many things to hurt her. How could she still be your disciple? And if she joins the Doctors' Association, you won't be able to shake her." All the elders revealed looks of disdain when they heard Luofu's words. To them, there was nothing more important than Yun Luofeng. Just as everyone was fighting endlessly, a powerful aura suddenly rushed over from the sky nearby, instantly attracting everyone's attention. When everyone looked up, a snow-white figure came into view. The old man stood with his hands behind his back and stepped through the void. It was as though white lotuses had sprouted beneath his feet, and he had the demeanor of an immortal. In particular, the aura surging from his body was incomparably powerful. Yun Luofeng also discovered the old man's figure and raised his eyebrows slightly. This old fellow seemed to have changed into another person, and was no longer the scoundrel he was familiar with. "What are you fighting about?" The old man's voice was calm as he slowly walked down from the sky. It was as if a flight of stairs had appeared beneath his feet, and he was slowly walking down that invisible flight of stairs. Chapter 637. The elders were overjoyed when they saw the old man walking towards them. They could not be bothered to argue as they hurriedly stepped forward and greeted him respectfully. "Lord Tianya? You've arrived? Tianya?" Those who had not seen Tianya before were first stunned when they heard how the elders addressed the old man. Then, their eyes filled with wild joy. It looks like they had made the right decision to come to the doctor's meet this time. They had actually met godly Dr. Tianya here. Tianya stood in the middle of the elders with an indifferent expression. He had the demeanor of an immortal. He was a completely different person from the little old man who had once pestered Yun Luofeng. If Yun Luofeng had not seen Tianya's true nature, perhaps he would have really treated him as a highly respected old man. "Tell me, what were you arguing about earlier?" Tianya frowned slightly and asked calmly. "It's like this." Lan Hong was afraid that Luofu would make a false accusation and hurriedly stepped forward to explain. "This Lady Yun has a grudge against Luofu's disciple. However, Luofu has taken a fancy to her talent and wants to force Lady Yun to become his disciple. He claims that if Lady Yun wants to live, she can only become his disciple. However, all of us also want to accept Lady Yun as our disciple. That's why we're arguing." "Oh?" Tianya pretended to be profound. "You want Lady Yun to become your disciple? If she becomes your disciple, how should I address you?" At this moment, Tianya's expression was very ugly. She never thought that so many things would happen just because she had arrived a little late, especially since these people actually dared to make Yun Luofeng their disciple. In this way, wouldn't she have to address them as Grand Masters? How could the arrogant Tianya tolerate this? "What does Lord Tianya mean?" Lan Hong was stunned. His brain could not react in time as he asked in a daze. "Humph, what do I mean?" Tianya's expression was very ugly, so dark that water could drip from it. My meaning is very clear. You want Lady Yun to become your disciple. When I see you in the future, should I also address you as grandmasters? Boom! Like a bolt from the blue. Everyone's body trembled as they looked at Tianya in astonishment. What did he just say? If Yun Luofeng became their disciple, he would have to call them grandmasters? One must know that only one's own master's benefactor would be addressed as grandmaster. Did Lord World's Edge mean that Yun Luofeng was his master? Luo Fu's face instantly turned pale, his old body swaying in the wind. He hurriedly held onto the tree beside him to prevent himself from falling to the ground. I misheard. I must have misheard. Looks like I need to go back and treat my ears. How could Yun Luofeng be Tianya's master? I must have misheard. That's right. He must have misheard. Such a thing would never happen. Luo Fu comforted himself. However, before he could force himself to believe these words, he saw Tianya walk towards Yun Luofeng. A calm smile was maintained on his aged face, as if he was an enlightened master, making it impossible for anyone to ignore him. Little girl, I'm late. He smiled indifferently, no longer having that shameless face from before. Tianya, Yun Luofeng rubbed his nose and smiled evilly. I'll give you 99 points for your performance when you first appeared. 1 point less is because I don't want you to get arrogant. Chapter 638. Tianya was at a loss. He looked at Yun Luofeng in confusion. What do you mean? All in all, I have one thing to say. Your actions just now were too pretentious. In comparison, I still prefer your shameless face. The girl's words made Tianya's face fall. His eyes were filled with resentment. Girl, there are so many people here. Can't you at least give me some face? Face! Yun Luofeng stroked his chin with his fingers and asked with a faint smile, Do you still have face? The corner of Tianya's mouth twitched. After all, what Yun Luofeng said was the truth. He had lost all his face in front of this girl. Lord Tianya. Under everyone's shocked gazes, an elder said in a trembling voice, Is what you just said true? Yun Luofeng. Is he really your master? Tianya frowned impatiently. He turned to look at the elder and snorted. Do you think I'm joking? No, I wouldn't dare. In the entire Doctors Association, Tianya's status was the most special. How could he dare to question him? However, when they thought of their actions just now, they wanted to find a hole to hide in. If they had accepted Yun Luofeng as their disciple, what would Tianya become? No one dared to imagine such an outcome. Who was the one who said he wanted to accept my master as his disciple? Tianya raised his chin arrogantly as he looked at the crowd in the plaza with a fierce gaze and shouted coldly, Get out here immediately! Swoosh! In that instant, everyone's gazes turned towards Luo Fu. The meaning in their eyes was obvious. Gulp! Luo Fu swallowed his saliva and took a few steps back. When he met Tianya's gaze, his heart trembled. Lord Tianya, I was just joking. After saying this, he glared at Lin Yiting, who was standing beside him, dumbfounded. This girl didn't tell him that Yun Luofeng was related to Tianya. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to accept her as his disciple even if he had 100 guts. However, this time Lin Yiting was wronged. She didn't know about the relationship between the two. Naturally, he didn't know that Tianya would acknowledge Yun Luofeng as his master. In the face of Luo Fu's reproachful gaze, Lin Yiting clenched her fists tightly and lowered her head. A cold glint flashed across her beautiful eyes. Yun Luofeng, the humiliation you gave me today, I will definitely repay it 100-fold in the future. Are you joking? Tianya sneered and said mockingly. Then I'll kill you, then go to your grave and tell you that this is just a joke. What do you think? Luo Fu's expression changed. Lord World's Edge, although our leader respects you a lot, he is not a match for you. However, I am still a member of the Doctors Association. Aren't you being too rude? Haha. Tianya laughed out loud. His laughter was filled with anger. You're threatening me with the Doctors Association? Good. Then I'll ask that brat Li Chuan to come out right now. Li Chuan was the president of the Doctors Association. When everyone heard Tianya's impolite words, They couldn't help but look at each other with shock in their eyes. They knew that their president respected Tianya very much. But now, World's Edge was so fierce that he told their guild leader to scram. Was there a reason they didn't know? Chapter 639. Tianya. Just as everyone was hesitating, a helpless voice rang out from the void. Then they saw an old man in a navy blue robe walk out. This old man was over 50 years old. His face was rosy and there were very few wrinkles on his face. If not for his white hair, it would be difficult to tell his true age. "Greetings, President." Everyone in the plaza knelt down when they saw the old man appear out of nowhere. Only Tianya and Yun Luofeng remained in their original positions. Lin Yiting felt even more indignant. She felt as if a hand was squeezing her heart, almost suffocating her. Why did she have to kneel while Yun Luofeng could stand? One day, she would climb to the top of everyone's head and let them look up to her. "Humph! You finally dare to show yourself?" Tianya scoffed and said sarcastically, "Is this how you've been ruling the Doctors' Association all these years? First, you indiscriminately protected the medical city. Then, you made the geniuses who came to participate in the conference suffer. It's a miracle that the Doctors' Association hasn't been crippled in your hands." Tianya's words were very blunt. His voice was sharp, and each word struck at the heart. Li Chuan's breathing stopped, but he couldn't retort because Tianya was speaking the truth. "Sir Tianya, we respect your medical skills and listen to you because of the president. However, this doesn't mean that you can insult our president." Luo Fu's eyes lit up and he stood up. He gritted his teeth and spoke word by word. Even if Tianya's medical skills were great and he was powerful, he couldn't be so rude in front of the president of the Doctors' Association. Even if the president respected him, he still had to be polite. How could Luo Fu, who had finally found an opportunity, give it up so easily? If the Doctors' Association and Tianya fell out, he would have the chance to kill all of them. "Luo Fu, how dare you?" Li Chuan's expression changed. He released his aura and threw a punch at Luo Fu. Luo Fu's body flew a few meters away and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He raised his head and looked at Li Chuan in shock. He trembled and said, "President, you... Luo Fu, do you know who is standing in front of you? How dare you say such words?" Li Chuan flicked his sleeves and said with a cold expression, "Even if Tianya had beaten me up, it would be justified, not to mention Tianya had only scolded me." Luo Fu's eyes widened in shock, his face full of shock. What did the guild leader mean? What did he mean by Tianya beating him up was something he deserved? From start to finish, Yun Luofeng had her arms crossed, lazily leaning against the tree behind her. When she heard Li Chuan's words, she subconsciously glanced at Tianya. Her pitch-black eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. "Originally, I didn't want to say this. Hiding it from everyone was also Tianya's wish." Li Chuan sneered. "But now, because of your rudeness towards Tianya, I have no choice but to say it. Back then, if not for World's Edge, the Physician Association wouldn't have existed. Nor would I have the status I have today." Luo Fu gradually felt uneasy in his heart. He opened his mouth to defend himself, but when he saw Li Chuan's cold gaze, he was so scared that he couldn't say a word. Li Chuan took a deep breath and said, "Tianya and I have known each other since we were young. Back then, I didn't know anything about medicine, and I was seriously ill. In order to treat my illness, Tianya started to teach me medicine. All of my medical skills were learned from Tianya. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't want to take me as a disciple, I would have called him master. So, do you think that he deserved to scold me?" Chapter 640. Luo Fu finally could not support his body any longer and fell to the ground. His pale face had turned into despair and his heart was dead. "Master!" Lin Yiting hurried forward and helped Luo Fu up. A fierce look flashed across her eyes as she lowered her head and spoke in a voice that only the two of them could hear. "Master, if you bear all the blame, I have a way to save you." Luo Fu was stunned. He lifted his head to look at his disciple. At this moment, he felt as if he was meeting her for the first time. What do you want? Believe me, I can only save you if I escape punishment." Hearing Lin Yuting's deliberately lowered voice, Luo Fu laughed bitterly. He knew that this was the only way. If he let Lin Yuting and him go to jail together, the two of them could only wait for death. He. Luo Fu laughed bitterly and stood up from the ground. His old eyes stared at Li Chuan in the sky and sighed. Lord President, I know that I have committed an unforgivable mistake this time. I have never thought of escaping from all my crimes. I accept my punishment. He gritted his teeth and continued. But my disciple is innocent. She doesn't know anything. President, please forgive her. Hearing this, Lan Hong stared at him coldly. Elder Luo Fu. She had made a bet with Miss Yun at that time. If Miss Yun was able to save these patients within an hour, she would hand over the medicine city to Miss Yun. However, she actually went back on her word just now. How are you going to give us an explanation for this? Luo Fu's heart sank. I was the one who incited this. I told Yuting before that regardless of whether Yun Luofeng succeeded or not, she could not comply with her conditions. Yuting was against my decision, but I am her master, so she could only listen to my orders. Yuting is a good girl. Please forgive her, President. This? Li Chuan turned to Tianya hesitantly. Tianya, what do you think we should do? Tianya frowned slightly. His eyes were filled with murderous intent, but just as he was about to make his decision, Yun Luofeng suddenly stretched out his hand and stopped him. Girl. Tianya looked at Yun Luofeng in surprise. With Yun Luofeng's personality, he would never let Lin Yuting go. Why was she stopping him now? Second uncle isn't here yet. Her meaning was very obvious. If Yun Qingya did not come, then the people of the medical city could not be touched. Perhaps Yun Luofeng was afraid that Tianya didn't understand her meaning, so she continued to repeat, Second uncle wants to take revenge personally, especially those who hurt him back then. Let Lin Yuting off? How was this possible? She would only use the blood of the people of the medical city to pacify the pain Yun Qingya had suffered all these years. Sigh, Tianya sighed. Since you've made this decision, then let these people run wild for a few more days. When your second uncle arrives, it will be the time of their deaths. Yun Luofeng raised the corner of his lips. Tianya, when the time comes, send someone to keep an eye on the people from the medical city. I don't want them to disappear before second uncle arrives. All right, I will do as you say. Tianya smiled and turned his gaze towards Li Chuan. Since Luo Fu is willing to bear all the responsibility, then take him away. Let the people from the criminal division decide the guilt. In addition, I don't believe that Lin Yuting is innocent, so I want you to restrict the freedom of everyone in the medical city. Also, torture Luo Fu and make him confess his accomplice. Chapter 641. A sense of terror appeared in Luo Fu's eyes. She quickly grabbed Lin Yuting's hand and exclaimed in a trembling voice, Yuting, I won't be able to hold on for much longer. You must save me. I will. Lin Yuting held Luo Fu's hand and slowly straightened her body. Her gaze slowly turned towards Yun Luofeng and she said softly, Yun Luofeng, you've won this time. I hope that you can continue to win against me. She then turned around and left without looking back. Only her hands, which were placed by her thighs, were clenched tightly. Yun girl. Elder Rong finally recovered from his shock. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. When I first met you, I had thought that based on your medical skills, you would certainly be godly Dr. Tianya's disciple. I never thought that I would be wrong. You're actually his master. This news was too shocking. It was so shocking that he nearly lost his ability to think. Yun Luofeng shrugged his shoulders. I didn't admit it. Hearing this, Tianya's solemn expression instantly turned into one of grievance. He exclaimed resentfully, Then when will you admit me? I don't accept a disciple at your age, but I've promised Xiaobai that I will guide you in medical skills. When will you be free? Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a small smile. His jet-black eyes shone with a bright light. Tianya's heart was filled with excitement and he nearly hugged Yun Luofeng. Fortunately, Yun Luofeng had dodged quickly and managed to avoid his bear hug. I'm free anytime. Tianya was so excited that he could not control himself. His entire elderly face was flushed red. "Shall we begin now?" At this moment, the little old man was rubbing his palms. His smile was as vulgar as it could be. It was completely different from his sage-like demeanor. The crowd was dumbfounded and could not believe that this vulgar old man was their highly respected godly Dr. Tianya. Could it be that someone had accidentally switched him out? "Little girl," Elder Rong chuckled. "When you're guiding godly Dr. Tianya, can I listen in?" Yun Luofeng thought for a moment and nodded. "Sure, as long as you don't disturb me." Elder Rong's heart leaped and he quickly agreed. "Little Yun, don't worry. I won't make a single sound." After hearing their voices, all the elders of the Doctors' Association started to get restless. "Miss Yun, can we also go and listen? I promise we won't disturb you." The elders' eyes were filled with anticipation as they quietly looked at Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin and turned to Lan Hong. "That year, my second uncle and the medical city had a dispute. How many people naturally stood on the side of the medical city?" Lan Hong was stunned for a moment. He thought for a moment and said, "There was a dispute in the past at the Doctors' Association. Half of the people think that the medical city is not wrong, the one who is wrong is Yun Qingya, and the other half remain silent." At that time, other than Lan Hong who had objected to the Doctors' Association's decision, the others either stood on the Medicine City side or maintained their silence. Therefore, after hearing his words, Yun Luofeng raised the corner of his lips and said, "Some of you think that my second uncle is in the wrong, and the others remain silent about what happened to my second uncle. Why do you think I should forgive your actions and help you improve your medical skills?" She could understand those who remained silent, but she could not accept that it was because of their silence that second uncle had suffered so many years of harm. Chapter 642. The crowd lowered their heads in annoyance and cursed the people of the Medicine City a few hundred times in their hearts. If it had not been for these people, why would Yun Luofeng have rejected them? "Little Yun," Elder Rong glanced at Lan Hong and said. Lan Hong was the only one who had objected to the Doctors' Association's actions that year. "I wonder if he could attend the hearing?" Yun Luofeng gently nodded. Yes. She had always been able to distinguish between kindness and hatred. Even though Lan Hong had been unable to go against the majority's decision, his heart was still fair and just. Based on this point alone, she would not reject Lan Hong's participation. The elders stared at Lan Hong enviously as if they wanted to replace him. If they had known that this would happen, they would not have sided with the Medicine City. Otherwise, they would not have ended up like this. Li Chuan had wanted to ask Yun Luofeng to allow him to attend the hearing as well. However, when he saw the miserable looks on the faces of the other elders who had been rejected, he swallowed his words. After all, he was the one who had stood up to protect the Medicine City. What right does he have to ask Yun Luofeng to teach him medicine? This Medicine City has caused us all to suffer. Li Chuan sighed and spoke hatefully. To the crowd, Yun Luofeng had been able to make Tianya acknowledge her as his master. This proves that her medical skills are so powerful that it would anger both men and God. If they could receive her guidance, they would certainly be able to avoid many detours. However, because of the Medicine City, they had missed a great opportunity. "Let's go. We'll settle the score with the Medicine City." The elders agreed in unison and hurriedly walked towards the guest room. At this moment, they had already vented their anger from being rejected on the people of the Medicine City. Li Chuan also wanted to join in, but when he thought of his own status, he could only suppress the impulse in his heart. In the luxurious guest room, Lin Gu paced back and forth impatiently. His eyes glanced out of the door from time to time, and there was a sense of urgency in his eyes. If Lin Yuting had not been afraid that he would stir up trouble again, she would not have stopped him from going to watch the assessment. Hence, he could only wait quietly in his room for news. Suddenly, the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard from outside, and the door was pushed open. When he saw the woman who had pushed the door open, his face lit up with joy, and he asked, "Yuting, did you succeed? That woman Yun Luofeng has failed?" Ha ha ha. As long as he thought of the young girl losing face in front of everyone, He felt an indescribable joy in his heart. However, Lin Yuting's expression was very ugly, and there was not the slightest bit of joy after her scheme succeeded. After seeing her face, Lin Ji's heart skipped a beat. Yuting, what happened? Father? Lin Yuting bit her lip gently, a complicated look in her eyes. I've failed. Yun Luofeng could tell at a glance that the person was pretending to be sick. He even exposed him on the spot. What? Lin Gu staggered and fell heavily to the ground. His face was pale as he murmured, "This is impossible. Your plan is flawless. How could it fail?" Lin Yuting's gaze became even more complicated. Not only that, I also made a bet with Yun Luofeng. If she can cure all the patients in half an incense stick's time, then she wins. If not, then she loses. Within half an incense stick's time? Even if Yun Luofeng's talent was any greater, it was impossible for him to accomplish this. Half an incense stick's time is probably only enough for her to take his pulse and make a diagnosis. If someone had said that Yun Luofeng had cured all the patients on her own, perhaps he would have believed it. However, with the addition of half an incense stick's time, Lin Gu would never believe that she had done it on purpose. Chapter 643. I hope so too. Lin Yuting's eyes darkened as she said, "Unfortunately, she did it. Moreover, I used the medical city as a wager and lost it." Lin Ji's body shook, and he said embarrassedly, "Yuting, you're joking with me, right? Even Tianya couldn't do it in half an incense's time. Could it be that she has the ability to rule the world?" Lin Yuting lowered her eyes slightly, concealing the ruthlessness in her eyes. Tianya naturally can't do it because Tianya is her disciple. Lin Ji's pupils gradually dilated, and his gaze changed from the initial shock to fear. There were only a few words echoing in his mind. Tianya was Yun Luofeng's disciple. That genius doctor whose name shook the continent, Tianya, was Yun Luofeng's disciple? This was even more shocking than Tianya taking in Yun Luofeng. Lin Gu climbed up from the ground and clenched his fists tightly. Suddenly, as if he had thought of something, he raised his head and stared fixedly at Lin Yuting. At this moment, even though the woman in front of him looked a little pale, she did not lose her usual elegance and indifference, as if she had a card up her sleeve. "Yuting, you must have a way, right?" A glimmer of hope appeared in Lin Ji's eyes. "Ever since you were young, you've always been more composed and clear-headed than the average person. I know that you definitely have a way to save me." Lin Yuting sighed. Over the years, there were many times when she wanted to give up on the medical city. However, in the end, she was unable to overcome the hurdle in her heart. This medicine city was the place that had raised her. Lin Gu was her godfather. If she were to ignore the medical city, wouldn't she be an ungrateful wretch? She could not bear such a bad reputation. In order to save me, my master has already separated me from this matter. Logically speaking, as long as I know my place now, I would be able to live a peaceful life. However, I simply cannot ignore your medicine city. In other words, I could have abandoned all of you, but now I'm doing everything I can to save you. I'm afraid that your medicine city will never be able to repay such a great kindness." Yuting, Lin Ji's eyes lit up. I understand. I understand everything that you've done for the medical city. I just want to know, what method do you have to save the medical city?" Lin Yuting was silent for a moment. "In 2 days, the Ghost Emperor will arrive." "The Ghost Emperor? Yuting, what do you want to do?" Lin Gu looked at Lin Yuting in shock. "The Ghost Emperor is very strong. Even the president is not a match for him. I heard about this from Master." Lin Yuting narrowed her eyes as a cold light flashed across them. "And this time, I'm the referee because Master wants me to get close to the Ghost Emperor. After all, if I host this meeting, I will have the chance." Lin Gu seemed to have thought of what Lin Yuting wanted to do, and his eyes were a little surprised. "Yuting, you mean? Originally, I wanted to let nature take its course. If the Ghost Emperor doesn't like me, it doesn't matter." Lin Yuting interrupted Lin Ji's words. She looked out the window and suddenly flashed with a determined light. "But this time, I can only give it my all. Lin Gu seemed to understand what Lin Yuting wanted to do, and his eyes were filled with surprise. Yiting, you mean Yiting? Lin Ji's complexion finally turned for the better, but he still had some worries in his heart. Your master has already fallen. I'm afraid that the person hosting the meeting this time will be someone else. If that's the case, how are you going to approach the Ghost Emperor? Lin Yuting smiled indifferently. I have my own ways. You only need to remember one thing. No matter what Yun Luofeng does to you over the next few days, you must endure. After a few days, I will avenge you. Chapter 644. All right? A sharp light flashed in Lin Ji's eyes. I'll let that slut Yun Luofeng run wild for a few more days. Once the Ghost Emperor becomes my son-in-law, I'll make her understand the consequences of offending me. Now, every time he thought about the famous Ghost Emperor becoming his son-in-law, his heart would fill with uncontrollable excitement. He could almost see the scene of the Ghost Emperor and Lin Yuting getting married. Lin Gu, get your ass out here. Boom! Suddenly, the door was kicked open by a foot. Immediately after, several elders rushed in from the outside and surrounded the entire room in an instant. Lin Gu was shocked by these people and asked in a trembling voice, You, what do you want? What do we want? The leading elder smiled evilly. Of course we want to fuck you and your son. As soon as he finished speaking, the elder waved his hand. In that instant, a man dressed in embroidered robes was thrown out from behind the crowd and landed on the ground with a loud thud. Son. When he saw the bruises all over the man, Lin Gu turned pale with fright. He quickly stepped forward and helped the man up. Son, are you all right? Father. Lin Hao grimaced in pain. What on earth happened? Why did the elders of the Doctors' Association attack the Medicine City? However, it's all right. Father is here, nothing will happen. Lin Gu quickly shielded his son as he glared angrily at the people in front of him. When have I, Lin Gu, ever offended all of you to the point that you would be so cruel to my son? Humph! The leading elder scoffed coldly. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have offended Miss Yun and she wouldn't have taught us medicine. Back then, you were the one who sought death, but you had to drag the entire Doctors' Association into this. Now, we have nowhere to vent our anger, so we can only come to you. Then, he gritted his teeth and said, Let's go and fuck them up. The elders had long been unable to restrain their violent hearts, and powerful spiritual energy struck Lin Ji's body one after another. However, because Lin Gu had protected Lin Hao in his arms the entire time, Lin Hao did not suffer any attacks. Lin Yuting looked at the father and son pair. She was afraid that she would provoke an undeserved calamity, so she silently retreated. Forget it, I'll let them off for now. After an unknown period of time, one of the elders stopped and said helplessly, Actually, we were also at fault for what happened back then. If we hadn't helped the medical city indiscriminately, we wouldn't have ended up like this. That's right. We are indeed at fault. I really envy that old fellow Lan Hong. Back then, he was more reasonable, so he could go and listen. If you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? The hearts of the various elders were filled with regret. After they understood the situation, they did not make things difficult for the people of the Medicine City. Instead, they walked out on their own. Perhaps they needed to find a place to reflect on their actions over the years. They're finally gone. Lin Gu breathed a sigh of relief after everyone had left. Were you injured just now? Father. Is the Miss Yun they're talking about someone from the Yun family? Lin Hao clenched his fists tightly. Because Lin Gu was afraid that mentioning the Yun family would provoke Lin Hao, he had never mentioned the Yun family in front of Lin Hao over the past year. Even after coming to the Doctors' Association, he didn't tell Lin Hao that Yun Luofeng would be attending the conference. Now, hearing Lin Hao's question, he became silent. Chapter 645. Father, tell me, is it those bastards from the Yun family? The veins on Lin Hao's forehead bulged as he clenched his fists so tightly that they creaked. Lin Gu sighed helplessly. Hauer, it's the Yun family's Yun Luofeng. He's here. Yun Luofeng? That dog Yun Qingya's niece? Lin Hao flew into a rage and said angrily, Father, Why did the bastards from the Yun family come to a place like the Doctors' Association? What qualifications do those lowly things have to step into such a noble territory? Go and kill Yun Luofeng right now. Looking at Lin Hao's twisted face, the corner of Lin Ji's lips curled up into a bitter smile. I'm afraid we won't be able to kill Yun Luofeng right now. Why? Why can't I kill that bastard? I don't care. I want you to kill her and the people from the Yun family. I want everyone in the Yun family to die. That dog Yun Qingya had defeated him in front of everyone's eyes. How could he endure such humiliation? If Yun Qingya wasn't already dead, he would have definitely sent the experts of the medical city to annihilate the Yun family. Unfortunately, in order to prevent Lin Hao from being provoked, Lin Gu had already instructed the people of the medical city not to let any news of Yun Qingya reach his ears. Thus, even now, Lin Gu still did not know that Yun Qingya was still alive. However, calm down. Lin Ji's eyes flickered a few times. Yun Luofeng is a young genius that was invited by the doctors' conference this time. The doctors' conference has a rule that no matter what grudges there are, no one is allowed to fight during the conference. In a few days, Father will help you kill him to vent your anger. Lin Gu did not dare to tell Lin Hao about the relationship between Yun Luofeng and Tianya. Otherwise, Lin Hao would definitely be provoked. In any case, the Ghost Emperor would be his son-in-law. With the Ghost Emperor as his son-in-law, why would he need to be afraid of Yun Luofeng? Humph! Lin Hao snorted disdainfully, but his expression improved a little. Young genius? What kind of genius is she? Are the people from the Doctors' Association blind to actually invite that kind of dog to participate in the conference? Yes, yes, yes. Lin Gu hurriedly echoed Lin Hao with a face full of doting. The Doctors' Association is indeed blind to invite her to participate in the conference. How can that woman Yun Luofeng compare to you, Howard? Howard, you are the true genius. Oh right, Dad. Why did those association elders beat us up? Are they related to Yun Luofeng? Lin Hao touched his aching cheek and sucked in a breath of cold air. Lin Gu was startled for a moment and unconsciously frowned. He was thinking about what kind of excuse he could use to brush off Lin Hao. Father, do you think that Yun Luofeng used her beauty to confuse those elders to beat us up? If the people from the doctors are confused by her, then we will be. Before this, Lin Gu had pasted the portraits of all the members of the Yun family in his room so that he could humiliate them. Yun and Hao I One He Luo Yun in and Chen Hao in and Luan Yun He Hao Emperor in Lin comma Yun. Hao comma in comma Hao Lin Yun in Lin Ghost Emperor? Lin Hao was stunned for a moment. Comparing the Ghost Emperor and the Doctors' Association, who was stronger? This, Lin Gu pondered for a moment. The Ghost Emperor's strength is unfathomable. I don't know what level he has fallen to. However, Yu Ting said that the president of the Doctors' Association is not a match for the Ghost Emperor. Chapter 646. The president of the Doctors' Association was no match for the Ghost Emperor? Lin Ji's eyes lit up. Father, will the Ghost Emperor really become my brother-in-law? Howard, have you forgotten? Lin Gu smiled lovingly. For the past 20 years, which man has your sister taken a liking to has been able to escape from her clutches? At the end of the day, the Ghost Emperor is only a man. As a man, how could he escape the temptation of beauty? Lin Hao nodded in agreement. That's true. After all, I'm a man. As long as it's a good-looking woman, I want to accept her. The Ghost Emperor and I must have the same thoughts. Unless he's impotent, he would turn a blind eye to a beauty. Furthermore, Father, I have one more request. I want Yun Luofeng's body. Once I've obtained her body, I'll kill her. He seemed to recall that peerlessly beautiful face which was like that of a celestial being. He licked his lips vulgarly and narrowed his eyes with a lascivious light. Howard, a woman like Yun Luofeng will sully you. However, as long as you like her, I can make her your concubine. Lin Ji's love for Lin Hao was shown on his face. When he faced Lin Hao, his face always carried a warm smile. It goes without saying that the reason why Lin Hao had become such a hedonistic playboy was closely related to his love for him. Father, Lin Hao curled the corners of his lips sinisterly. A woman like that is only fit to serve me for one night. Even if she cries and begs for me to sleep with her, I won't give her a second night. A woman who isn't even a virgin, I think she's too dirty. He had already decided that Yun Luofeng must have used her beauty to bewitch the elders. That was why the elders had come here to avenge her. Since that was the case, she must have had a physical relationship with the elders. How could such a dirty woman have the right to become his concubine? At most, he would think that he had visited a brothel to visit a prostitute. He would never visit the same prostitute a second time. At this moment, Qing Yan came to a halt on the rugged mountain path. She leaned her body against the tree behind her, feeling somewhat exhausted. She gently closed her eyes. "Yenner, are you tired?" Yiling turned to look at Qing Yan, and a gentle smile appeared on his cold features. Qing Yan opened her eyes and shook her head. "I'm fine. Let's continue." Not too long ago, they had received the news that the city governor's residence in the medical city had been burnt down. It was said that the person who burned down the city lord's mansion was their young miss. If the young miss had returned, then she would surely head to the Doctors' Association to participate in the meeting. Thus, she and Yiling had hurriedly led some people over for the sake of lending her a hand. "All right." Yiling lovingly rubbed Qing Yan's head, a warm smile on her lips. "If you're tired, we can rest. After all, you haven't stopped to rest for the past few days in order to hurry on with our journey. Didn't you guys also not rest?" Qing Yan rolled her eyes. "We are men. You are just a woman. I'm the leader of the Flame Corps, not a weak woman." Qing Yan's eyes shone with a determined light. "I won't rest until I see the young lady." The people from the medical city were also in the Doctors' Association. That was why she was in such a hurry, afraid that Yun Luofeng would be in danger. "Ah," Yiling sighed. "If you're tired, I don't mind carrying you." Chapter 647. "No need." Qing Yan propped herself up. "Yiling, if I'm so weak that I need you to carry me, how would I have the right to fight for you? It's getting late, let's continue." As she spoke, she gripped her sword tightly and planned to continue walking. However, at that moment, a sneer suddenly rang out, causing everyone to be on guard. "Yun family? I didn't think we'd be so lucky to meet someone from the Yun family on our way. Since that's the case, I'll kill you first, then go to the Yun family and cause trouble for Elder Yun." As soon as she finished speaking, countless figures descended from the sky and surrounded everyone. The leader of the group was a middle-aged man. This man was dressed lavishly, but his eyes were like a venomous snake, making everyone uncomfortable. Yiling, Flowing Gold Country's third prince, Yun Luofeng's subordinate, deputy commander of the Iron Legion. Qing Yan, Yun Luofeng's maidservant, commander of the Flame Legion. Looks like I've met the right person. The middle-aged man seemed to be talking to himself as his lips curled into a mocking smile. "Who are you?" After sensing the middle-aged man's powerful aura, Yiling instinctively shielded Qing Yan behind her and stared at him coldly. "I'm the subordinate of Elder Luo Fu of the Doctors' Association." The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes. "I'm under orders to go to the Yun family and capture Elder Yun." Previously, after Yun Luofeng had rejected Lin Yiting, she had sent people to the Yun family. This was her last layer of protection. If Yun Luofeng still refused to submit to her, she would use the Yun family's lives to threaten him. She had done this many times. Unfortunately, the middle-aged man did not know about the incident at the Doctors' Association. Nor did he know that Lin Yiting could not even protect herself after Luo Fu stepped down. Otherwise, he would not have dared to cause trouble for the Yun family. "Qing Yan, be careful." Yiling's expression darkened. "This middle-aged man is an intermediate earth spiritualist. Everyone else is a high spiritualist. Right now, among the Yun family's troops, he was the only one who had broken through to a low-level earth spiritualist. The strongest among the rest was only a high spiritualist. But with his own strength, he could not fight against these people. Fortunately, the Yun family had Elder Ning and the pavilion master of the medical pavilion as witnesses. An earth spiritualist would not be able to do anything to the Yun family. After all, with regards to the Yun family's news, Lin Yiting was still stuck at the time when Yun Luofeng was in the Yun family. She did not have the slightest idea that the current Yun family had two great experts overseeing it. But even if she knew, there was nothing she could do, because the most powerful person she could use in the Doctors' Association was an earth spirit. This was also why Elder Rong had not been worried after hearing Lin Yiting's threat. Instead, he had been comforting Yun Luofeng, because he understood that the experts that Lin Yiting sent out would not be able to do anything to the Yun family. These people indeed couldn't do anything to the Yun family, but to the Iron Steel Legion that had left the Yun family, it was not a small threat. Go! Kill everyone from the Yun family. A gloomy look flashed across the middle-aged man's face as he coldly ordered. I want them to understand the consequences of going against Yu Ting. In an instant, the people behind him pulled out their weapons and quickly surrounded the army. Yiling, let's fight together. Qing Yan quickly drew her weapon and stood back to back with Yiling. Her clear eyes were filled with determination. Even if I, Qing Yan, die, I will not lower my head to the Doctors' Association. Chapter 648. The other members of the army drew their weapons one after another and joined the battle. The sounds of battle resounded throughout the mountain path, and fresh blood flowed all over the ground. The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes, and his gaze gradually shifted towards Yiling. After that, his body transformed into a swift and fierce sword that shot towards Yiling. He'd noticed a long time ago that Yiling was the most powerful person in this group. Since that was the case, then he would kill him first. Yiling, watch out! When Qing Yan saw that the middle-aged man was about to charge towards Yiling, she somehow gained a speed that left no time for her to cover her ears as she charged towards the middle-aged man. Yiling roared anxiously. With a bang, the sword in his hand chopped off the head of the enemy in front of him, and he hurriedly stretched out his hand to grab Qing Yan. However, his fingers only managed to tug at Qing Yan's sleeve, and he managed to pull it off. After that, he could only watch helplessly as Qing Yan stretched out her arms and stood in front of the middle-aged man with a resolute expression on her face. If you want to die for him, I'll fulfill your wish. The middle-aged man laughed coldly, and he raised the long sword in his hand high and slashed it towards Qing Yan's head. Yiling was completely enraged. A terrifying pressure emanated from his body, and he instantly dealt with the row of people in front of him. Subsequently, he flew swiftly towards Qing Yan with the intention of stopping the middle-aged man's attack. Swoosh! Suddenly, a flying knife flew towards him from behind, and it tore through the sky, leaving a long mark behind. However, Yiling acted as if he hadn't seen the flying knife, and he didn't even try to dodge it. Instead, he pulled Qing Yan, who was blocking the middle-aged man. However, the flying knife didn't slash Yiling's body. Instead, it bypassed him as if it had eyes of its own, and it sliced through the middle-aged man's throat with a slash. The middle-aged man's body stiffened, and the long sword slipped out of his hand. He didn't even know what had happened before his body fell backwards. He died with everlasting regret. At the instant that the long sword fell to the ground, Yiling had already pulled Qing Yan into his arms. His voice was trembling, and it was filled with obvious terror. Why did you do that? Qing Yan smiled. Because you're my husband, and I don't want to see you die. So, I'd rather die first. Qing Yan, why are you so selfish? Yiling tightly pressed on Qing Yan's shoulder and couldn't help but roar. What should I do if anything happens to you in order to save me? I won't allow you to do this again. Qing Yan lowered her eyes and a smile appeared on her delicate face. Perhaps next time, she would be just as selfish, because she couldn't let Yiling fall before her. Therefore, she would rather be the one to fall first. By the way, Qing Yan, we should first thank you for saving our lives. Yiling turned his head. Before he could say the last word, it was stuck in his throat. His eyes widened bit by bit, excitement written all over his face. Leader, leader. In the void, a green robe fluttered in the wind. The man stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His features were clear and handsome. He was like a proud green lotus that bloomed alone. Second Master. Qing Yan was so excited that she almost shed tears. Second Master, you're finally back. We've been waiting for you for more than a year. Furthermore, the young miss has gone to the Doctors' Association. Just as she finished speaking, the graceful figure in the sky quickly disappeared. The direction he was heading towards was surprisingly the Doctors' Association. Chapter 649. Ever since Luo Fu had been imprisoned, he finally understood what it meant to be better off dead than alive. Furthermore, because of his and Lin Yuting's actions, the host of the meeting was chosen to be the disciple of another elder, Hu Pe. At this moment, Hu Pe, who was cultivating, was disturbed by a series of footsteps. He frowned slightly and turned to look at the woman who had pushed the door open. Lin Yuting, what are you doing here? Hu Pe's face gradually showed signs of impatience as he asked coldly. Lin Yuting did not think much of it. She smiled elegantly and slowly walked through the door. I heard that you're going to welcome the Ghost Emperor outside the city tomorrow? That's right. Hu Pe frowned slightly. But what does this have to do with you? Don't forget that you no longer have any status in the Doctors' Association. Lin Yuting's eyes flickered and she smiled gently. Hu Pe, I'm here to ask you for a favor. One of my junior sisters admires the Ghost Emperor very much. So, I want her to go with you to meet the Ghost Emperor tomorrow. Lin Yuting, forgive me for not being able to help you. After all, if I help you and Master finds out, he will definitely not forgive you. Hu Pe coldly rejected Lin Yuting. Lin Yuting was not discouraged and continued to smile. Hu Pe, I heard that Elder Dingling has been favoring Shen Feng more recently. I have a way to help you. What way? Hu Pe's heart sank slightly as he asked. I have a 500-year-old ice ginseng with me. If you give this ice ginseng to Elder Dingling, he will definitely favor and trust you in the future. As for me, I only want you to do me a small favor. Hu Pe fell silent. Lin Yuting's words were too tempting, and he could not reject her as decisively as before. Are you sure that you only want me to help you with this small favor? Hu Pe's words were filled with doubt. He knew Lin Yuting's character all too well. This woman was very cunning, and if one was not careful, one would fall into her trap. I swear that I will only let my junior sister take a look at the Ghost Emperor. Based on my junior sister's abilities, she does not have the right to attend the meeting. I guarantee that she will not do anything out of line. Don't worry. Lin Yuting's lips curled into a smile as she vowed. Hu Pe gritted his teeth. All right, I'll believe you this once. Senior brother Hu Pe, I thank you on behalf of my junior sister. Lin Yuting's smile widened, but the moment she lowered her eyes, a cold glint flashed across her eyes. Yun Luofeng, do you think that I won't have a chance to meet the Ghost Emperor just because the Doctors' Association is keeping a close eye on me? You're wrong. As long as I want to leave this place, there are thousands of ways. With that in mind, Lin Yuting walked out of the room and closed the door for Hu Pe. In a simple yet elegant room, the incense burner exuded an intoxicating smell. Yun Luofeng lazily sat on the wooden chair. He raised his eyebrows and looked at Milk Tea, who had squeezed in through the crack of the door. What did Lin Yuting do? Ji, Milk Tea called out twice and said, Master, I just went to Lin Yuting's room and found that she was in disguise. Disguise? Yun Luofeng was startled and asked, why did she disguise herself? Could it be that she wants to escape? No. According to Lin Yuting's character, she would not easily leave the Doctors' Association. After all, the Doctors' Association had not punished her yet. So how could she be willing to leave? I'm not sure. Milk Tea raised her big bright eyes. After she disguised herself, she removed her makeup and left the room. Because I wanted to report this to Master, I did not continue to follow her. Chapter 650. Lin Yuting would never have guessed that Yun Luofeng had allowed her to move freely in the Doctors' Association because he had already sent an unremarkable little hamster to keep an eye on her. However, Milk Tea was in a hurry to report to Yun Luofeng and did not hear the conversation between Lin Yuting and Hu Pe. Yun Luofeng's fingers lightly tapped on the table as an evil light flashed across his eyes. Continue to follow Lin Yuting. If she tries to sneak away, Knock her out and bring her back. Before second uncle arrives. No one in the medical city can be missing. Yes, master. Milk Tea obediently agreed. With a swoosh, she squeezed through the narrow gap in the door once again. It's already been 2 days. Yun Xiao will probably arrive tomorrow. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile. A few days ago, Yun Luofeng had saved all the patients in half an incense stick's time. Hence, she was the rightful leader. As there were still other rankings to be determined, the other genius doctors had to compete again. Today was the last day of the test. Tomorrow was the real grand assembly. Master Lin Ruobai, who was standing quietly in front of Yun Luofeng, pursed her lips. We've already been at the Doctors' Association for a few days. Why don't you accompany me to go shopping? Not interested. Yun Luofeng raised his brows. Yun Xiao will be here tomorrow. I need to conserve my energy. Master, why do you need to conserve your energy when Grandmaster is coming? To tease him. The corner of Lin Ruobai's mouth twitched. In front of her domineering master, Grandmaster would always be suppressed. She could already imagine how intense the two of them would be tomorrow. It would be like dry wood meeting a raging fire. Thinking of this, Lin Ruobai did not continue to disturb Yun Luofeng. She silently retreated. The next day dawned. Early in the morning, countless people dressed in the robes of the Doctors' Association had gathered at the city gate. This caused the residents in the city to look at each other in dismay. They did not know who had arrived to cause such a commotion. While everyone was discussing, a black figure suddenly appeared in the sky above the city gate in the blink of an eye. At this moment, a phrase appeared in everyone's mind. Unparalleled in the world. A sovereign descending upon the world. The man stood quietly in midair. His cold, black eyes, which seemed to look down on all living things, swept across the crowd below him. It made them feel the urge to kneel down and submit to him. His face was covered by a mask, and it was impossible to see the expression under the mask. However, that pair of thin lips had a cold arc, as if in this man's eyes, there was no room for the existence of anyone. Milk Tea, who was hiding in the crowd, subconsciously glanced at Lin Yiting, who was in disguise. Anger flashed through her big bright eyes. Could it be that this woman snuck out of the Doctors' Association for the sake of her master's man? In particular, there was a flash of infatuation in her eyes, which made the anger in Milk Tea's heart burn even more. At this moment, Lin Yiting was staring infatuatedly at the man in the sky. Even though she could not see his face under the mask, it did not stop her from being infatuated with him. This man, with just his aura, had already conquered him. It also made her understand what she wanted in this life. It was a good thing that Lin Yiting was unable to see Yun Xiao's face. Otherwise, she would have fallen even deeper and would have been unable to extricate herself. Chapter 651. The man slowly walked down from the sky. His tall figure shrouded the ground, and his powerful aura made one's heart tremble as if there was a deep sense of oppression. Lin Yiting hurriedly lowered her head, not daring to look at this man. Otherwise, she would feel that her neck would be crushed by his powerful aura at any time. The others felt the same way as they lowered their heads tightly, not even having the strength to lift their heads. Ghost Emperor, you're here? Hoopa suppressed the excitement in his heart and quickly walked to Yun Xiao. I've been waiting for you on Master's orders. Yun Xiao's gaze was as cold as ever, and his black eyes would never have any extra emotions. The corners of his lips under his mask curled into a cold and hard angle as he walked through the city gates. Ghost Emperor. Suddenly, a clear voice rang out from the crowd. Lin Yiting had already raised her head and looked straight at the man who had walked through the city gates. A glint flashed across her infatuated eyes. I'm Guofulan, a disciple of the Doctors' Association. I've heard a lot about you, Ghost Emperor, so I've been waiting here. Under Luofu's tutelage, there was indeed a disciple called Guofulan, and Lin Yiting had disguised herself as her. When Hoopa heard Lin Yiting's words, his expression changed and he hurriedly shouted, Guofulan, what are you trying to do? Can you bear the responsibility if you alarm Lord Ghost Emperor? Lin Yiting clenched her fists tightly. She knew that this was her last hope and she must not give up. Lord Ghost Emperor, I've heard my senior sister Lin Yuting mention your name. My senior sister Lin Yuting is not only unparalleled in beauty, she's also elegant and kind. Now she's been framed. Please help me, Lord Ghost Emperor. Yun Xiao did not seem to hear the pleas of the woman behind him as he walked through the city gates. Dressed in black, he appeared cold and unfeeling. Lin Yuting thought that her words had no allure to the man. She bit her lips and continued, Lord Ghost Emperor, senior sister Yuting offended that woman because of you. Because that woman admires you, the kind-hearted senior sister Yuting couldn't bear for her to be consigned to eternal damnation, so she persuaded her out of goodwill. Who knew that it would lead to her crazy revenge? This time, Yuting has indeed suffered an undeserved calamity. Lord Ghost Emperor, you must help her. Among the crowd, Milk Tea's eyes were filled with contempt as she stared at Lin Yuting mockingly. Unparalleled beauty, elegant and kind, was Lin Yuting praising herself? This was the first time it had heard someone praise itself in such a narcissistic way. Of course, the premise was that Milk Tea knew that the fake face was Lin Yuting. If it was someone else who didn't know the truth, they wouldn't feel disgusted by Lin Yuting's words. After all, Lin Yuting was currently wearing someone else's face. Yun Zhao's figure gradually disappeared from the streets. From the beginning until the end, he had not even spared Lin Yuting a glance, as though he had treated her as air and directly ignored her. Guofulan, what are you doing? Hu Po was a little angry and glared fiercely at Guofulan. Lin Yuting had told me that you're sensible and would never do anything that would embarrass the medical city. Why would you say such things in front of the Ghost Emperor? Lin Yuting sneered. I'm only standing up for senior sister Yuting. How can that slut, Yun Luofeng, compare to senior sister Yuting? Now, this is the only chance to save senior sister Yuting and I will never give it up. Hu Po was stunned as he stared at Lin Yuting in astonishment. Guofulan, when did your relationship with Lin Yuting become so good? First, she came here to beg me to help you because of you. Now you're risking your life for her. Chapter 652. How would he know that the person standing in front of him was not Guofulan? It was Lin Yuting who had already changed her appearance. Hu Po, I want to attend the doctor's conference with you. Lin Yuting's eyes darkened. At that time, Yun Luofeng will also appear. I want to take this opportunity to use the Ghost Emperor to get rid of her. No way. Hu Po's expression changed. Return to the Doctors' Association immediately. I will not tolerate you anymore. Do you think that you still have a chance to go back on your word? Lin Yuting laughed coldly. If you don't bring me to the conference, I will tell your master that you have accepted senior sister Yuting's bribe. You? Hu Po angrily pointed at Lin Yuting and his body trembled slightly. He regretted it. He regretted accepting Lin Yuting's bribe. Otherwise, he would not be in such a passive position now. All right, I will do as you wish. Before Hu Po left, he turned back to look at Lin Yuting. However, I feel that you and senior sister Yuting are becoming more and more alike. Guofulan's heart suddenly trembled. She thought that she would be exposed, but she saw Hu Po turn around and leave, hurriedly chasing in the direction that Yun Xiao had disappeared in. At the conference hall, under the vast blue sky, all the elders took out the treasures that they had obtained over the past few years and proudly welcomed the envious gazes of the people around them. The doctors' conference, in layman's terms, was a conference to flaunt one's wealth. Every time before the doctors' conference, people from various forces would search for precious treasures to flaunt in the Doctors' Association. As Yun Luofeng had only sent people to monitor the people from the medical city, he did not restrict their activities in the Doctors' Association. Hence, on the day of the conference, the people from the medical city also went to the conference hall. Lin Hao saw the young lady in white in the crowd at first glance. He could not help but clench his fists as a fierce glint flashed across his eyes. At this moment, the young lady was like a moon in the hearts of the masses. Whether it was the elders or disciples of the Doctors' Association or the people from other forces, they all surrounded her and placed the treasures in their hands in front of her, as if they were presenting a treasure. Miss Yoon, I have painstakingly obtained this blood guillotine. If you want it, I can give it to you. However, I have a small request. Can you guide me in my medical skills? As for my 1,000-year dragon turtle grass, I'll give it to Miss Yoon. As for my request, it's the same as his. I only need a little guidance from Miss Yoon. Such a precious medicinal herb naturally needs to be matched with a powerful physician. Therefore, this medicinal herb is useless in my hands. Why don't I give it to Miss Yoon? She can maximize its effects. These people had once treated medicinal ingredients as priceless treasures, not to mention the medicinal ingredients that they had brought to the Doctors' Association to show off. Now, they were fighting to give it to Yun Luofeng, afraid that the young girl would reject their request. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows evilly and instructed Lin Ruobai. Little Bai, take the medicinal ingredients and note down the names of these doctors. I will be staying in the Doctors' Association for a few more days. If you have any questions, you can ask me. As a doctor, what he lacked the most was precious medicinal ingredients. But now, Yun Luofeng had found a way to obtain medicinal ingredients faster. Then can we use medicinal herbs to exchange for a chance to guide them? The elders of the Doctors' Association held their breaths and looked at Yun Luofeng nervously. Yun Luofeng thought for a moment and then nodded. If the herbs are rare enough, I can answer a few of your questions. Chapter 653. All the elders were excited. Some of the old men did not wait for their companions to react and ran towards the place where they stored their medicinal ingredients. They wanted to be ahead of everyone else and present their medicinal ingredients to Yun Luofeng. Father, Lin Hao frowned. Why do all those people want to curry favor with Yun Luofeng? Lin Gu was stunned and felt a little regretful. If he had known earlier, he would not have let Lin Hao come. But in the end, he did not reject his request and brought him to the venue. This? Lin Ji's eyes flickered a few times and he replied, That's because of Tianya. Yun Luofeng and Tianya have an improper relationship. In order to curry favor with Tianya, they naturally pestered Yun Luofeng. Lin Hao suddenly understood and looked at Yun Luofeng with disdain. So that's how it is. This woman is really dirty. Thinking of this, Lin Hao planned to ridicule Yun Luofeng. But at this moment, a powerful aura suddenly appeared and enveloped the entire venue. Yun Luofeng was all too familiar with this aura, so familiar that he could recognize it even if he closed his eyes. At the end of the venue, the man's cold eyes were tightly locked onto the young girl who was surrounded by all the stars. It was as if there was a trace of a shallow smile on his lips, so shallow that it almost disappeared. When their eyes met, a strange feeling spread between the two of them and spread to the surroundings, causing the man's body temperature to lose its previous coldness. The man only looked at her quietly. The young girl's figure was imprinted in his eyes and engraved in his heart. Engraved in his heart and bones, unforgettable for a lifetime. Hu Per and Lin Yuting hurried over and saw the man standing silently at the end of the venue. They did not know what had happened, but the man's aura was no longer as oppressive as before. At this moment, Lin Yuting suddenly saw Yun Luofeng madly rushing towards Yun Xiao. She was like a wild wolf and Yun Xiao was a delicious dessert in the wolf's mouth. That undisguised emotion made Lin Yuting's heart happy, and the corners of her lips curled into a mocking smile. Yun Luofeng, I had thought that you were smarter than others, but I never thought that you would be so stupid. You actually became so impulsive after seeing the Ghost Emperor. With the Ghost Emperor's personality of not liking strangers, her blood might splatter on the spot. As if she could already see Yun Luofeng's miserable appearance as his blood splattered on the spot. The smile on Lin Yuting's face grew even wider. Her sinister eyes coldly stared at the white-clothed girl who was rushing towards Yun Xiao. Facing the young girl who was like a hungry wolf pouncing on its prey, not only did Yun Xiao not make a move, she instead opened her arms wide and the corners of her cold lips gradually rose into an arc. Bang! Yun Luofeng's body fiercely pressed against Yun Xiao, pressing the man fiercely against the ground. She kissed him without restraint, her arms tightly pressed against the ground. The two of them were so engrossed in their kiss that they seemed to have become a world of their own. It was as if they had forgotten the people around them. Lin Yuting hurriedly covered her mouth and took a few steps back. Her eyes were filled with terror and her delicate body trembled slightly. Not only did Yun Luofeng hug the Ghost Emperor, he even forcefully kissed him. But the Ghost Emperor, who had such a cold personality, not only did he not refuse, he even seemed to be enjoying it. Furthermore, with the Ghost Emperor's strength, if he had not willingly fallen down, Yun Luofeng would not have been able to push him to the ground. In other words, the Ghost Emperor had willingly allowed himself to be pressed down by her. When she thought of this, despair rose in Lin Yuting's heart. The man whom she had regarded as her last hope was actually related to Yun Luofeng? Chapter 654. Yun Luofeng finally let go of the man she had pinned down. She smiled evilly and pointed a finger at the man. Yun Xiao, during the time I wasn't by your side, did anyone teach you? I only allow you to teach me. The man raised his eyes and stared at Yun Luofeng seriously. In this lifetime, he would only allow this woman to get close to him. At the same time, he would only be taught by her. Yun Luofeng hugged Yun Xiao once again. Her entire body pressed against his and her chin rested gently on his shoulder. She lowered her eyes and said, Yun Xiao, I missed you. After a year of separation, she finally understood what it meant to miss someone. Perhaps, that inadvertent glimpse of him that year was destined to make her fall into his hands. But she willingly fell into his trap. How could this be? Lin Gu stumbled back and stared at Yun Xiao in fear. He gulped fiercely. How did the Ghost Emperor know Yun Luofeng? Father, what are you talking about? Isn't the Ghost Emperor my brother-in-law? A woman like Yun Luofeng can't even be compared to a brothel girl. How could she be worthy of the Ghost Emperor? After Yun Xiao's appearance, the entire venue had fallen into silence. As a result, Lin Hao's words were clearly heard by everyone present in the venue. How are... Lin Gu roared angrily. Shut your mouth! This was the first time he had lost his temper at Lin Hao in so many years. Hence, Lin Hao's temper flared up. Father, you were the one who said that the Ghost Emperor would become my brother-in-law. You even said that the Ghost Emperor would kill Yun Luofeng to avenge us. The Ghost Emperor will be here soon and Yun Luofeng will pay for her mistake. Lin Ji's lips were deathly pale. He trembled a few times, but he could not make a single sound. All these years, he had given Lin Hao the greatest protection. As a result, Lin Hao did not know anything about the mainland and did not recognize the Ghost Emperor. In Lin Hao's mind, a powerful cultivator like the Ghost Emperor would definitely be surrounded by a group of people and would be incomparably glorious. Yun Xiao had come alone in silence. How could he be the famous Ghost Emperor? Yun Xiao's gaze gradually shifted away from Yun Luofeng and landed on Lin Hao's face. A powerful murderous intent radiated from his body, causing his aura to become incomparably cold. Being locked on by his aura, Lin Hao's body couldn't help but tremble. He subconsciously hid on Lin Ji's body. However, his mouth was still unforgiving, and he angrily said, You are merely the lover of that bitch Yun Luofeng. Yet you dare to bully the people of the medical city like this. When the Ghost Emperor arrives, it will be the day of your death. Pa! Lin Gu slapped Lin Hao's face, his voice trembling. Apologize. Father. Apologize to the Ghost Emperor. Originally, Lin Hao was still extremely angry because of his father's slap. But after hearing what his father said next, his gaze unwittingly shook, and a trace of panic flashed in his eyes. Father, what did you just say? Ghost Emperor? Where is the Ghost Emperor? Lin Gu sighed heavily. At this moment, his heart was filled with regret. He regretted spoiling Lin Hao to such an extent. That masked man is the Ghost Emperor. Like a bolt out of the blue, Lin Hao's legs trembled and he instantly fell to the ground. His face, which had already turned pale due to excessive indulgence, became even paler at this moment. Father, you're joking with me, aren't you? The Ghost Emperor is my brother-in-law. How could he possibly be Yun Luofeng's lover? Chapter 655. Lin Gu stared at Lin Hao's pale face, gently closed his eyes and sighed softly. Forget about Lin Hao. Even he could not believe what was happening before his eyes. Milk Tea's sharp eyes caught sight of Lin Yuting, who was trying to sneak away. She instantly jumped and charged towards Lin Yuting, her sharp claws biting her calf fiercely. Arg! Lin Yuting shrieked in pain. At that moment, everyone's eyes turned towards her. The entire place was abnormally silent. Under everyone's gaze, her lips trembled slightly, and she subconsciously took a few steps back. She didn't even have time to deal with her bleeding leg. Milk Tea raised her little head and glanced arrogantly at Lin Yuting. She then turned around and quickly returned to Yun Luofeng's side. "Are you a disciple of Luofu?" Lan Hong gently furrowed his brows and asked. Lin Yuting's expression froze. Her eyes flickered as she quickly tried to think of a way to leave this place. "I seem to remember that based on your position in the Doctors' Association, you do not have the right to attend the meeting. I wonder who allowed you to enter?" Lan Hong's gaze inadvertently swept across Hu Po's body, and the meaning in his eyes was clear. Thud! Hu Po saw that the situation was not looking good and knelt on the ground in fear. He trembled as he spoke. "Elder Lan Hong, Master. It's my fault for allowing her to sneak in. I'll get someone to throw her out later." If Hu Po had said that Lin Yuting had bribed her, perhaps she would not have been able to find an excuse. However, in order to shirk responsibility, Hu Po had said that she had sneaked into the meeting. This had given Lin Yuting an opportunity. She gritted her teeth and knelt on the ground. Her eyes were filled with a pitiful look as she sobbed. "Elder Lan Hong, Elder Ding Ling, this is all my fault. It has nothing to do with senior brother Hu Po." Hu Po stared at Lin Yuting in astonishment, as if he never thought that she would take all the blame. However, Lin Yuting's following words caused his expression to change. "My heart aches for senior sister Yuting. She's such an outstanding woman. She shouldn't have ended up like this." Lin Yuting lowered her eyes and quickly crawled towards the Ghost Emperor. "Lord Ghost Emperor, I beg you. Only you can save senior sister Yuting. Moreover, with senior sister Yuting's looks, she is not inferior to Yun Luofeng." After saying that, her voice paused for a moment before she continued. "Besides that, Lin Hao had claimed that you were his brother-in-law. That was the Medicine City's own decision, and it has nothing to do with senior sister Yuting. Previously, the people from the Medicine City had even forced senior sister Yuting to seduce you. However, senior sister Yuting has always advocated mutual affection and would never do such a thing that is immoral. She's innocent." Yun Luofeng raised the corners of his lips and looked at the woman who had crawled in front of Yun Xiao with a smile that was not a smile. "I wonder if you've heard of this saying?" "What?" Lin Yuting was stunned. "Grandma Wang sells melons and praises herself. Even if you want to sell yourself, you don't have to keep praising yourself." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Lin Yuting's face paled, and anger surged from her chest. She clenched her fists tightly. "Yun Luofeng, how can a vicious and merciless woman like you be worthy of the Ghost Emperor? You are just jealous of senior sister Yuting. If she wanted to survive, the Ghost Emperor was her only hope. Hence, at this moment, Lin Yuting has lost her usual rationality and spoke without thinking. I thought that I've made myself clear enough." Yun Luofeng slowly left Yun Zhao's body and raised his brow evilly. He then smiled gently. "Lin Yuting, even if you sell yourself off and praise yourself, you still can't sell yourself." Chapter 656. Lin Yuting. Upon hearing Yun Luofeng's words, the crowd was stunned as they stared unblinkingly at Lin Yuting. "Miss Yun, are you sure you're not mistaken?" Lan Hong stared blankly and smiled. "I think she's called with something. She's not Lin Yuting. Besides, if she was Lin Yuting, she wouldn't have said such self-flattering words. Otherwise, wouldn't it be disgusting?" Lan Hong wasn't speaking up for Lin Yuting. Instead, if a person could boast about herself in front of a man, how thick-skinned must she be? Wouldn't she be disgusted by such self-flattering words? "Yun Luofeng?" Lin Yuting bit her lip and said, "Don't accuse me wrongly. I'm not senior sister Yuting at all. You're only doing this because you're jealous of senior sister Yuting." Even at a time like this, Lin Yuting still refused to admit her actions. After all, this mask of hers had been made by a cultivator 2 years ago. Unless there was a special method, it could not be removed. Otherwise, No matter how powerful Yun Luofeng was, he could not reveal her true face in front of everyone. In that moment, Lin Yiting finally caught Yun Zhao's attention. The man's gaze was cold and his face was expressionless. His deep black eyes stared coldly at Lin Yiting as if he was looking at a dead person. A powerful aura surged from the man's body. His slightly pursed lips formed a cold and hard angle as a vicious aura rose from his body. There was no wind, but his black robes fluttered. Lin Yiting swallowed her saliva as her eyes filled with fear. She stumbled back a few steps. All these years, if she had nowhere to vent her frustrations, she would use Guofulan's face to commit crimes. Anyway, in the end, Guofulan would bear all the notoriety and she would still be the elegant and gentle Lin Yiting in the eyes of the world. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng pressed down on Yun Zhao's shoulder as the corners of his lips curled into an even more demonic angle. I'd like to handle this matter personally. The young girl's words caused the vicious aura from Yun Zhao's body to slowly disappear. His voice was as cold and hoarse as ever as he said, "All right, if she wanted to shine brightly, so what if he was the man behind her back? For her, he was willing to hide all his brilliance. He only needed to silently accompany her, and that was enough. Lin Yiting, since you don't want to tell the truth, then I'll make you reveal your true colors." Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a faint smile. He narrowed his eyes and gradually approached Lin Yiting. Lin Yiting's expression suddenly changed. There was a large crowd behind her, so she had nowhere to retreat to. Suddenly, a few silver needles appeared on the girl's fingertips. With a swoosh, they pierced through the air and pierced Lin Yiting's face. "Ah!" Lin Yiting screamed shrilly and hurriedly pulled out the silver needles from her face. Her hand was tightly covering her bleeding face as she trembled and stared at Yun Luofeng. "You're not as outstanding as senior sister Yiting, and you don't even allow me to say it. I don't know what method you used to confuse the Ghost Emperor. But how can a woman like you, who delivered herself to the Ghost Emperor's side, be compared to a woman like senior sister Yiting who doesn't care about power?" The entire square was silent. Everyone was dumbfounded as they stared at Lin Yiting. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. It was as if they had seen something inconceivable. Chapter 657. What's wrong? Lin Yiting noticed the crowd stares and subconsciously wiped her face. In that instant, she had accidentally pulled off a human skin mask. When she saw the human skin mask in her hand, Lin Yiting's shrill voice rang through the entire hall. "Ah! How could this be? That powerful cultivator had clearly told her that she could only use the potion that he had given her to remove this mask. What on earth had Yun Luofeng done?" At this moment, it was as if Lin Yiting had been stripped naked and all the flaws on her body were exposed to the sun. Hu Po was so frightened that he immediately fainted, hoping to escape his master's rebuke. Unfortunately, he had obviously thought too much. Now, everyone's eyes were on Lin Yiting, including his master. No one had even spared him a second glance. "Lin Yiting, she's actually Lin Yiting. I had originally thought that senior sister Yiting was gentle and elegant. I never thought that she would be this kind of person. I'm guessing that she has disguised herself as someone else. That's why she has unscrupulously revealed her true nature. Did you all hear what she had said just now? She actually claimed that she was extremely beautiful and had a good temperament. She even claimed that she wasn't the kind of person who would cling to the rich. She even narcissistically thought that Yun Luofeng was jealous of her." "Stop talking. I'm about to vomit. She clearly wants to seduce the Ghost Emperor. She even pretends to be pure and says that she's not attached to power." The crowd's mockery caused Lin Yiting's face to turn as white as a sheet. She held a human skin mask in her hand and stood alone in the middle of the crowd, accepting everyone's criticism and humiliation. It was as if she had become incompatible with the entire world. Yun Luofeng. All of this was Yun Luofeng's fault. Suddenly, she raised her head and her venomous gaze pierced through the crowd and landed on Yun Luofeng. "Lin Yiting, you rebellious daughter." Lin Gu had already rushed in front of her and slapped her across the face. He said angrily, "You were the one who said that you had the confidence to seduce the Ghost Emperor, yet you pushed all the blame onto me. If you hadn't said those words, would and I have thought that way? You still dare to talk about me? Lin Yiting sneered. She retracted her gaze from Yun Luofeng and stared coldly at Lin Gu. If it weren't for that good son of yours stirring up trouble everywhere, would he have attracted so much trouble? If not for her, I would still be the most outstanding disciple of the Doctors' Association, with a bright future ahead of me. But now, because of you, my life has been ruined. You! Lin Gu was so angry that he pointed at Lin Yuting. Don't forget, if it wasn't for me, you would have died long ago. How could you have the status you have today? Lin Yuting smiled coldly. Then I would rather die back then than suffer the humiliation I'm suffering now. Pa! Lin Gu slapped her again. This time, he used a lot of force. So much so that a trace of blood appeared on the corner of Lin Yuting's mouth. She wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and a ruthless glint flashed across her eyes. These 2 slaps are enough for me to repay you for taking me in. Next, try and hit me again. Lin Gu had just raised his hand when he met Lin Yuting's eyes, which were filled with hatred. His heart trembled involuntarily. His hand froze in mid-air, unable to swing down. Yun Luofeng. Lin Yuting turned to look at Yun Luofeng, her beautiful eyes filled with hatred. You've ruined my life, just like the medical city. The person who ruined your life. Yun Luofeng paused after saying this, then continued, Isn't that you? Chapter 658. The person who ruined your life, wasn't it you? This sentence caused Lin Yuting's heart to tremble. Suddenly, she laughed maniacally. Her laughter was filled with malevolence and madness. Yun Luofeng, what happened more than 10 years ago was indeed the medical city's fault. However, after so many years, why can't you let us go? Now, you're telling me that the person who ruined me was me? She stopped laughing and stared fixedly at Yun Luofeng. No, the one who ruined me was the medical city and you. Boom! Suddenly, Yun Luofeng raised his leg and kicked Lin Yuting out of the way. Lin Yuting fell into the crowd and spat out a mouthful of blood. She glared venomously at Yun Luofeng. This kick. I am returning it to you on behalf of my second uncle. Bang! Yun Luofeng quickly arrived in front of Lin Yuting and raised his leg to stomp down fiercely. This stomp caused Lin Yuting's bones to break and fresh blood to gush out of her mouth. This kick. I am returning it to you on behalf of everyone in the Yun family. Another kick. This time, she kicked Lin Yuting's waist, sending her body flying a few meters away before she violently slammed into a pillar. This kick. I am doing it for myself. Yun Xiao is my man. You dare to peep at him, you deserve to die. The young girl raised her head slightly, her demonic eyes looking down at Yun Luofeng condescendingly. I have never allowed anyone to peep at my man. Even a single strand of hair on his body belongs to me. No one else can touch it. The young girl's domineering voice slowly rang throughout the venue. The Roaring Dragon mainland was a world where men were superior to women. Generally speaking, only men could declare their sovereignty over their women. There had never been a woman who could say such words in such a domineering manner. From head to toe, even a single strand of hair on his body belonged to her? How domineering must one be to be able to say such words? Yun Zhao's grim eyes gradually softened and the corners of his cold and stiff lips slowly curled into a shallow arc. His gaze remained fixed on Yun Luofeng. Within his pair of black eyes, the young girl's peerless and elegant figure was clearly reflected. Yun Luofeng. Lin Yuting chuckled. Her smile was filled with mockery and contempt. You underestimate the Ghost Emperor's position on this continent. Aside from me, there will definitely be other women. When that time comes, will you be able to stop so many women? Those who want to steal my man, I'll allow them to come. Yun Luofeng smiled evilly. However, if one comes, I'll kill one. If 2 come, I'll kill both. I'll kill until no one dares to peep at him. Lin Yuting was stunned. Perhaps she had not expected Yun Luofeng to say such a thing. She hurriedly turned her gaze towards Yun Xiao and asked in a trembling voice, You're just going to allow her to do this? Yun Xiao's faint smile disappeared when he faced Lin Yuting, and his voice was cold and stern. I will bury her body. So what if she wanted to kill him? He would always follow behind her and bury her body. Puff! Lin Yuting almost spat out a mouthful of blood, and her lips trembled slightly. The Ghost Emperor. He really didn't like ordinary men. However, he, who had always been cold and heartless and had never been close to women, was now so tolerant towards a woman. Why was it that such a man's gaze was not on her? Lin Yuting's heart clenched fiercely due to jealousy. She clenched her fists tightly and her nails dug deep into her palms. However, she did not feel it at all. Chapter 659. Ghost Emperor. Your status is so noble. Why do you let her do everything? Lin Yuting's heart was still filled with unwillingness. She clenched her teeth and asked this question. Everyone could see that the Ghost Emperor was at a disadvantage in front of Yun Luofeng. For this woman, he lowered all his qualifications and gave her the greatest indulgence. You don't have the right to know. The man's voice was cold and heartless. Aside from Yun Luofeng, the other women didn't even have the right to look at him, let alone answer him. After saying this, the man's dark eyes stared deeply at Yun Luofeng. Should I kill them now? He said it very simply, as if killing was as easy as eating and drinking. Wait a little longer. Yun Luofeng curled the corners of her lips and said with a light smile. All right. The man's words were concise and comprehensive. You won't ask for the reason? Yun Luofeng gently raised her eyebrows and smiled faintly. The man paused and said, You have your reasons for every decision you make. I only need to trust you. He trusted her without a reason. Even if one day she turned her sword against him, he would still choose to trust her. Yun Luofeng curled the corners of her lips. The people from the medical pavilion sent news that Second Uncle is already on his way here. According to the route, he will arrive today. When that time comes, I want to give the people of the medical city a surprise. She deliberately lowered her voice when she said this so that only Yun Xiao, who was next to her, could hear it. Yun Xiao glanced at Yun Luofeng, then turned and walked out of the venue. Not long after, the cold figure once again flashed in from outside the venue. Compared to when he had left, the man now carried a chair in his left hand and a pot of grapes in his right. He strode in front of Yun Luofeng. Where did you get this chair and fruit? Yun Luofeng was startled and asked. The man replied seriously, I stole them. Yun Luofeng's forehead twitched slightly as she looked at the man's matter-of-fact expression. Outside, this man was always so overbearing. Yun Luofeng straightened her long skirt and sat down. Her body leaned lazily against the back of the chair. She raised her eyebrows and looked at the crowd from the medicine city. Lin Gu, do you know why I allowed you to come to this venue today? Lin Gu was stunned. Even though the Doctors' Association did not completely restrict his freedom, it would not be so easy for him to enter the venue. Therefore, Lin Gu had been wondering why he could enter the venue so easily. Could it be related to Yun Luofeng? Because Yun Luofeng paused. His slightly narrowed eyes emitted an evil light. Today, I have a surprise for your medical city. Lin Yuting's body trembled and she lowered her head. She couldn't even protect herself now, so naturally, she couldn't care less about the medical city. Furthermore, compared to her hatred towards Yun Luofeng, she hated the medicine city the most. If Lin Gu had not spoiled and indulged Lin Hao, she would not have fallen to such a state. Hence, why would she worry about the medical city? Yun Luofeng. Lin Hao jumped up once again and roared angrily. You are a woman who is inferior to even a brothel girl. If you hadn't seduced the elders of the Doctors' Association, do you think you have the qualifications to step into this kind of place? You and Yun Qingya are both not good people. Yun Zhao's eyes darkened as she coldly glanced at Lin Hao. With just a single glance, Lin Hao felt a powerful force explode against his chest. His body was instantly sent flying dozens of meters away, fiercely crashing into the crowd. Chapter 660. Just as Lin Hao was about to crawl up from the ground, the black-clothed cold man had already appeared in front of him. At this moment, Lin Hao could clearly feel the hostility coming from the man's body. The man's hand tightly grabbed onto Lin Hao's sleeves and fiercely smashed his body onto the ground. With a loud bang, a deep crater appeared on the ground. It could be seen how much strength the man had used. In the deep pit, Lin Hao kept vomiting blood. He tried to get up, but as he moved, his entire body was in pain, as if all the bones in his body had been broken. "Father, save me." His voice was trembling and pleading. It was like a hand that fiercely pinched Lin Ji's heart. "Enough!" Lin Gu clenched his fists tightly and closed his eyes. The moment he opened them, a hint of determination appeared in his eyes. "If you want to hit me, hit me. Hauer is innocent." Even just now, Lin Gu still hated Lin Hao for offending the Ghost Emperor due to his ignorance. However, seeing his beloved son suffer such a serious injury, how could his heart not ache? He would rather be the one being tortured by the Ghost Emperor than watch his own son get injured. "Innocent." Yun Luofeng sneered and said mockingly, "Back then, he competed with my second uncle on the arena. It was precisely because my second uncle defeated him that he became angry out of humiliation and sent an expert from the medical city to kill my second uncle. Is this considered innocent? This is all my—" Lin Gu opened his mouth and said. He wanted to bear all the blame for Lin Hao, but before he could finish his words, Lin Hao's crazed voice came from the deep pit. "Yun Qingya deserved to die. As the young city lord of the medical city, he is just the young master of a general's mansion. Thus, I competed with him because I thought highly of him. What right does he have to defeat me? He should just stand there and let me beat him up." Lin Hao gritted his teeth. All these years, whenever he heard Yun Qingya's name, he would think of that match more than 10 years ago. That was also the greatest humiliation he had ever suffered in his life. "Humph!" Lin Hao snorted coldly and said mockingly. "The people of the medical city all know how to let me win in the arena. Only Yun Qingya is extremely stupid. Fortunately, that bastard paid the price for his mistake. Even if you take revenge on my medical city, that bastard Yun Qingya won't be able to come back to life. Ha ha ha." He laughed crazily, as if he wanted to vent all the anger he had accumulated over the years. However, at this moment, a cold voice tore through the sky and entered everyone's ears. "Are you sure I can't come back to life?" The man's cold voice, to Lin Hao, was a nightmare for more than 10 years. Therefore, after hearing these words, his smile suddenly froze. He raised his head mechanically and looked stiffly at the sky. In the azure sky, the man stood with his hands behind his back. His green robe fluttered in the wind, and he was as elegant as a song. His jet-black hair fluttered in the wind, and a sarcastic smile appeared on his handsome face. Rumble! In an instant, Lin Hao's mind was in chaos. It was as if countless bolts of lightning were exploding in his head. He stared blankly at the elegant and refined man in the air. He was so shocked that he could not speak. After a long while, he finally reacted. His face turned from pale to angry as he roared angrily, "Yun Qingya! Impossible! Why are you still alive, you beast?" More than 10 years ago, this bastard had clearly died at the hands of the experts of the medical city. Why was he still alive?